So it's all out there. 1,500 people know what we're doing. I'm going to go ahead and go on the intro. So yeah, so you'll be able to see some of the stuff. I got the chat going, and then on YouTube it's live. So we're good. So one video. Oh, that thing. I got to cut that out. Maybe I got to stop doing the autoplay. We'll see. Happy Friday, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good night. Welcome to the 42 Social Club. Happy Friday, 19th of June. Juneteenth here. Glad you are actually here. Look at Res Devil is already in the chat. Super excited to see what's going on. Thank you, everyone, for being able to be part of this. Make sure if you are participating, always excited to have you as part of this. If there's any issues or echoes or anything else, again, please feel free to let us know in the chat. But I am drinking an Enjoy by 7420. So it's actually one that I haven't found. I have not had this drink, and it was actually one of the last times my guest and I actually broke bread one time. He came down to Tucson, visited me, and we talked with him and Hode from Devil's Digest. And after he left, I don't remember much else after that, because all I had was 6 of those and one hot dog. So again, always make sure, kids, you are eating whilst you are drinking. So cheers. But again, wanted to introduce fortunately, someone I get to call a dear friend. He's definitely someone that you know online, someone that I aspire to, someone who I admire as a person, as a friend, and as a father, and even as a content creator. Very blessed to be able to talk with him. It is, again, my man, Ralph Amsden. How are you, my friend?
Good. I'm excited. I'm super proud of you, and it's really cool to be part of this.
Thank you. No, I do have to be honest. So I know that some of the stuff we were talking about this on the test yesterday, the test show yesterday, that you inspired it, right? I'd been kind of looking for something to do outside of just, doing the videos and tweeting football and everything else. So you given, the one thing, I think it was the doing cool shit with cool people that you set out there. And so it was something that I'm excited to do and to be part of. So again, thank you for the inspiration, but, really appreciate you being part of, the maiden voyage, season 1, as it were, of the Social Club.
Love it.
So I got a lot of questions. Hopefully, we're able to get a lot more time. I know there's a lot of people joining. So again, as always, as you have questions, please feel free to add them into the chat. But always, as a former resident, I wanted to talk to you, how in the hell is Arizona, right? We're always getting a lot of crazy information about the Rona, as I like to call it. But I mean, how is it really, right? What are you seeing? Is it what is it from your observation and your opinion?
The way that I look at what's going on in Arizona right now is it's like everything that I love about this place coming back to bite itself. It's like an attack on its own immune system. People come here from other places because they're entrepreneurial, because they're risk takers, because they want opportunity, they want more freedom to stretch their legs. That's why everyone that ever lived in Chicago and Milwaukee and Columbus are all Arizona residents, and that's why we have a lot of people from California as well. And you get into a situation where you need everybody to pull together and pull in the same direction, like they're the anchovies from Finding Nemo.
Right.
And it's just really hard to do, because that's not what Arizona is, and that's not what makes it special. It's everybody's different. Everybody can come here and kind of do their own thing and be independent. Some of it's political, just like anywhere else, where we've managed to like politicize safety. Like hold up a washcloth and spray a spray bottle into the washcloth, and then put the washcloth down and spray the spray bottle again. You'll see that in one instance, droplets are blocked, and that's just that's just science. And so if people want to ignore that you can help yourself or help others by covering your face up because you feel like it makes you a sheep or you feel like it makes you look fearful, I get it and definitely don't agree with it. But I think that mindset of just wanting to be free and stretch your legs and take risks is coming back to
Right.
bite us right now. And we need everybody to pull in the same direction. And it's really hard to get Arizonans to do that.
And so now to that point, right? Because I think I've seen that as well. It almost feels, is that more of an American attitude, right? It's like, you know, we're going to be very independent and be very free and do what we want, or is it? Do you think something like you said? Is it very Arizona to the point where we have, you know, there is so much freedom to do what they want? They're kind of escaping the hellhole of winter, right? Now I can go ahead and
Yeah.
walk out and
I think we're the wild wild west. I think we're America extra, right? Like we're America plus, and so it is a very American way to go about things. But I think we're just a very concentrated version of independence and manifest destiny, and even leaving some of your culture behind to do um, something new. And so, this is going to sound weird, but there's a lot of people in Arizona who moved away from their families and moved away from their parents
mm-hmm.
to be by themselves out here.
Right.
And so to ask people in Arizona who are of that mindset to have consideration for an older generation that they might not feel as connected to because they didn't stay to be the fourth generation in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Right.
Sometimes there's just that disconnect there of I don't know, man. I do think it's uniquely American, that independence mindset, and I just think that Arizona is pedal to the metal at all times in that way.
It must be very interesting, right? Because everyone always talks about the influx of California, right? Or everyone from the West Coast into Arizona, where you kind of have that very well established, like you said, very independent mindset from all these other places. So it almost seems like it's more those type of people from the West are much more of a I don't want to say vocal minority, a minority, but it really kind of the way you're talking about it really is, right? That they're kind of trying to share their influence when it's like, everyone came to Arizona to escape something, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. Now, I live in a weird town. I'm out in Maricopa, about 20 minutes south of Phoenix, and everyone here is Canadian. And so that adds kind of a weird.
Really?
So we got a lot of people from North Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, and Canada, and this is just their winter home. So like my block empties out right now, 40% capacity.
I was going to say all the snowbirds are gone though. Wow.
Yeah, Casa Grande, the north side of Casa Grande's a lot like that too.
Okay, interesting.
People's second homes, and they were able to buy up all this property after the last real estate collapse.
I see what you're saying.
Because if you can get a 3,000 square foot house for $115,000, why not do it? So,
exactly, in a place where they can leave or retire, whatever else it is. And again, you're escaping the oppression of, the lake effect in Canada, right? So now you're like laughing at all your neighbors and everyone else. That's outstanding. Yeah, so that was actually kind of one of the things I tweeted out to someone that asked, "What's the topic?" Right, and I was appreciative of that tweet because I'm always running this show from the seat of my pants because it allows me to think a little bit better. But from an agenda perspective or topic perspective, that's what I wanted to know. What is Maricopa, really like? And it sounds like you said it clears out, but then everyone else kind of rolls in at a particular time. I don't know if they'll get to this year. That'll be actually very interesting to see if all your neighbors return.
Yeah. I bet they're sitting back wherever they're from watching the news like, what in the hell is going on?
Yeah, my house.
The grocery store out here, Ace Hardware, everything that we have out here, it's probably 30 to 40% of people wearing masks, even when we were at our absolute worst, even when we were in the middle of a shutdown. People out here, half of the town is kind of like a military base oasis in the middle of, we're sandwiched in between two reservations. Right. And so it's just 16 miles of dirt, and then you hit Maricopa. And usually the only reason people are out here is to go through San Diego or on the way to San Diego. And we have a lot of people who live in sort of the suburban military base style developments.
Oh,
They're just
okay.
house after house that all looks the same, all next to each other. And then on the south side of town, it's all people who don't want to be found. We got these big homes that look like the compound where Bin Laden was shot. We got home. I was driving out on the south side of town and turned down a dirt road and came face to face with two camels standing in somebody's yard. Camels.
Camels.
Yeah. We have
Did you
one
tweet
house.
that and I missed that? Because that would have been quite the conversation.
I'm gonna see if I can find it. I know I
Yeah,
have
that'd be
pictures.
brilliant.
There's like a Hindu temple out there, out in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
And then we have another home that's shaped like the pyramids, just out in the middle of nowhere. The south side of Maricopa is a trip. I think it's called like Heaven something or Happy Valley or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know. It's a trip though, and
That's
I like
brilliant,
being out
man.
here just because it reminds me of home a little bit. Like you can see the stars and smell the cow manure.
And stars meaning a lot of the there's not, even though it is south, you're far enough to the point where you don't have light pollution then.
Exactly, and we have like ordinances against like street lights and stuff. So even our block gets just super dark.
That's cool. And it's like and you don't have to worry about Sky Harbor rattling your house all the time.
No, but we do have the Chin Airport, and people come out. It's right next to us. People come out here to learn how to fly. And so
Oh,
all day, every day, we've got like a little wing plane flying above our neighborhood, and I haven't heard it in the last couple of weeks, and I think someone crashed.
oh, because you can't learn how to fly remotely.
Yeah, I think if you Google it, someone also crashed one of the planes about 2 months ago into the airport.
Oh,
Uh,
that
They lived, but the picture of just the plane lodged in the building.
right.
Yeah, so it's always a little it's always a little sketchy to have that airport next to us.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's actually interesting because now I remember. I don't remember which game I was in town for. I think it was I don't know if it might have been the USC one, but this one kid was ripped out of his mind. But he was talking about doing jumping out of planes, parachuting. He was from New Zealand and had all his money and to be here for 3 days to jump out of the plane like 20, 30 some odd times so he could be certified by the time he's done and then fly back and then he could be an instructor. I mean, I don't know if you can actually do that, instruct someone else to jump out of a plane in 3 days, but that's what the certification he was trying to get. I don't know if it was there, if it was someplace else. I think he went to, actually, that's right. I'll take it back. He was super excited to go to exotic Aho. So
Oh, hey, would you skydive?
I would if I met the weight limit. I am over it so I was actually considering it and for one of my birthdays, and they have a 250-pound weight limit. So I have more than 10 pounds to go. So I got a ways to go. But
Okay.
I think I would do it. I think the whole thing for me is that I don't mind heights actually. Flying, everything else, tall buildings. I don't mind the idea of falling. It's the splat part that freaks me out. So that's why I kind of don't like looking over the edge, or the glass floors on tall buildings. That one I don't like either. Actually, I was partying in Vegas with a bunch of friends, and we were at the Ghost Bar, top of the Palms,
Hmm.
and they have this little square. I mean, it must have been 12 by 12. And it was a real thick piece of glass, but it was on there, and everyone's standing on it and everything else. And my dumb ass steps on it, and the piece of glass just goes. It just sunk, and I'm like, no. So then we came back the next night, and it's all blocked off and everything. So, but if I was the right weight, I do. So I think eventually, that may be one of these big birthday things. I may just either do. Overcome that fear, right, of either jumping out of a plane or bungee jumping, or even that. I think there's one at the Stratosphere, right, that you just kind of jump off the top of the thing and it just kind of you descend all the way down. So it'll be one of those things. But have you, or would you? No need.
I don't even like going down the stairs in the morning. The effort.
Yeah.
The whole day planned around one thing. Driving out there,
Hyping yourself out the entire time.
I guess it's just more the process of like, do I want to spend an entire day
Oh,
on
I see what you're saying. Okay.
this one thing? Um, I my stepmom's super into it. She's like a thrill seeker. I got a lot of people in my life who are adrenaline junkies. Um, yeah, it's just not. That's not what gets me going. Like I don't need to
Yeah, I
be
feel you.
spooked or scared. Like I can get the same feeling from like taking a deep breath of clean air. Like that
Yeah,
feels
oh,
like
absolutely. Right, or a beautiful song, or just like you said, looking at the
yeah, yeah,
stars,
yeah.
or anything else. You don't have to get that absolute adrenaline rush. So no, I absolutely feel that. So, I don't know if you can see the stream, but right below your name, I have four of the Twitter handles that I know you are a part of, but definitely wanted to make everyone aware, of what you do because, I absolutely love again and admire everything that you're able to put together with your own personal account, Pac-12 Apostles. Really enjoying that one as well. It's coming together, and I really like the back and forth and your angle on that one. We'll talk about that, but the other thing is that around Arizona varsity, I wanted to talk about this and make some more people. You're definite. There was a change about mid-year, but also there's you've kind of expanded. If I understand, if I look at it correctly, right? We never got to talk about it, so that's why I wanted to
Yeah.
give you a chance to kind of share what that's about and what else you've done. Because I've heard the podcasts from Chili, I've heard Sandy's, so I just wanted to get a little bit more information on that.
Well, I got into Rivals back when there was the switch of
Oh,
Hode coming to Rivals and Cartman going to Scout, which is now 24/7. John Perryman, he was running Arizona Varsity at the time, which was the high school site, um, and he pitched. He already had the relationship with Rivals, and he pitched them on the idea of I don't know what order it was, but I think he went to Rivals and he was like, "What about this Ralph
hmm,
kid and his crew?" And they were like, "Who the hell is that?" And then he's like, "Well, what about Hode?" And they were like, "Well, we don't." They were basically like, "Well, we don't want to make it look like we just traded." And so, well, he was like, "Hode has done all of this stuff covering ASU. He's got absolutely everything you want, everything you could, that you could need in this space." um, Ralph is doing some new and different things, and he has this whole group of people. Uh, what if we brought them both? And
hmm.
so the first time I ever met Hode was at a Starbucks, and it was John Perryman introducing the two of us to each other, and he was going to go to Rivals and he was going to pitch it, and then they accepted it, and then we had like a week to get ready. Um, I think we had like a week to get ready to
Not,
to launch the new site, and so it was like Hode, who had done things his way for a really really long time, and then me and a bunch of super green people all coming in, wanting to do some brand new stuff. And
right.
I think it took us a while to kind of find our groove, but I think over the I don't know, it was like 4 years, 4+ years, we made some really cool stuff and had a
Absolutely.
lot of fun. And then I think I talked to Hode toward the end of 2018 and told him I wanted to
Okay.
start winding down the ASU coverage. I just had a lot go on. In my personal life, I had my aunt who lived down here. I was taking care of. She had lung cancer, and then my
Hmm.
daughter, who survived a crazy illness from when she was a baby, she had to be like homebound for the first
Right.
3 years. So, there's not many people in the Arizona sports media who have kids at home. There's definitely not a lot who are the stay-at-home parents of that, and
Right.
there's definitely even fewer who, I homeschool my two older kids. My youngest was homebound, and then I was taking care of my aunt. So it was a lot, and
Wow.
I was still running Arizona varsity. John Perryman had given that to me at the end of 2015, and I wanted to see if I could make something new of it. So I tinkered around a little bit last year and expanded the lineup a little bit. And then headed into this year, I was like, you know what? Life is short. I just want to make cool stuff with my friends. Period. if I could do anything with my time, it would just be to make cool stuff with my friends. How do I do it?
Right.
And so I ironed out a way to break up my company and give a piece of it to 15, 16 different people.
Right on.
And so they didn't work for me. They co-own my company.
Wow.
And so we all have shares of it, and almost everybody involved with Arizona Varsity, it's not their primary gig. I think I'm the only one that it is.
Oh, interesting.
And the whole purpose of Arizona Varsity is just to make the stuff that they want to make. There's no metrics, there's no page counts, there's no pressure. It's, does this sound fun? Who can we hook you up with to make it work? Let's try it. And
Okay.
if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But like, there's nothing, I'm not going to cancel anybody's show because
Right.
of low viewership or anything. It's creation for the sake of creation. No deadlines, no bosses, just collaboration. Period.
Wow.
So it's like a little work co-op, like a commune type
Right.
deal. And I think that it's been interesting. We're a month and a half into it. We put out 60 some pieces of content, and like 8 different people have launched their own podcasts, and we've made some really cool stuff, and I'm really proud of it. And we don't just limit it to covering Arizona high schools, but anything with any Arizona sports. If somebody wants to touch on it, then they can. And it's been I just want to see if it works, and if I'm going to stay in this industry, like the only way that I can see myself doing this long term is if I get to do it my way. And
Right.
that's and so that's it. That's where that came from. Make cool shit with cool people was
That's
the
brilliant,
entire
though.
goal of Arizona Varsity.
And that's cool, right? Because again, like you said, there is, and I'm actually very excited to have that conversation with you, right? Because you're there for the sake of content creation, right? And I think I remember hearing on the Shutdown Fullcast, I think I remember hearing, those guys looking towards being able to become self-sufficient, not necessarily have to depend on online advertisements or anything else, but to be able to be self-sufficient to the point where, like your vision is, being able to create what you want without anyone else saying, whether someone likes it or not, who cares? Someone does, right? And the people that do like it, that's who you're catering to. That's who you like to talk to, and that's who you're engaging. And I think it's interesting because it's not just Varsity, because I think, is Sandy still with you? Because I know she's with SI, but is she still doing something too? So okay.
Sandy took over the Sports Illustrated side, but she's a co-owner along with us, and I helped her launch a podcast.
Yep.
And so she's made 5 or 6 episodes so far.
Absolutely.
She my favorite thing about it is she was trying to come up with a name for the show, and I told her you have to put your name on it, and she was horrified at the idea that.
Interesting.
Think about it. If you got like a cute name for a show or a concept that you come up with and it fails, then your show failed. Like,
oh, okay.
You move on. But if you put your name on it and it tanks, you tanked. And so she was a little bit afraid to do that. And the second that I saw that, I was like, oh, then that's perfect.
You're right.
Because
absolutely.
I'm not going to tell you how many people listen to this show. I never tell anybody who.
Oh, interesting. So you know the data, but you're not telling them. That's cool.
No, because the entire point of it is, are you spending your time the way that you want to spend your time? And if you're motivated by the cookie, by the reward, then you're not creating for the sake of creation.
Right.
You're catering to the audience. You're building what you do around the reception that you get for what you do. And I don't want that to be anybody's experience with Arizona Varsity. That can be their experience elsewhere.
Right.
But when we're working together here, is this how you want to be spending your time? And so she's made some pretty cool stuff so far, and I really look forward to working with her and supporting her in her new thing, because that's another thing. Community over competition, always. I don't see anybody as a competitor. I never have. I never will. I do get the feeling that some people are just super ingrained in that competition-based mindset.
Yeah.
And have become uncomfortable with where I've gone with
of
certain
course.
things that I'm doing. And I deal with that when that comes up. But I always feel like there's more than enough room for anybody to do anything. I hope
Absolutely.
This thing that you're doing, I hope this becomes the new gold. I'm so enthusiastic and excited about this. Like, I want this to be huge. I want what everybody's doing to ultimately to be successful. And
right.
I don't
Thank
think
you.
there's any reason why everybody can't be.
And that's definitely why I'm excited, right? Because I know there are a lot of people out there talking about, you know, whatever it may be, and hosting a podcast or anything else, or a podcast or a show like this, whatever else it is. But it's just, like you said, it's something that I believe in. It's something that I know I can do, well, and just as well as anyone else, but also make it important to everyone that's watching it, right? I want to make it fun. I want it to be a sense of community. I think especially now where we are so virtual, right? I think this is definitely something where we get to do, and I think that's always something that I've learned with, having my channel and doing plays and clips and everything else, is that I hear from people around the world saying thank you. I remember when I started in 2009, and I was doing some streaming that wasn't entirely on the up and up, but there was, it was out there, and I was, people were watching the games. I was getting emails from people in Japan. I was getting people from, soldiers out in Afghanistan, right? It's like, you're the only reason we get to watch these games, then it's like, my buddy here loves Alabama. Can you change a channel? Yeah. And then I'd change a channel, right? So it was actually very cool to be able to, that's been the mindset, right? Is being able to be part of that service to everyone that can't be in Tempe. I know I can't go very often because, of family commitments, but my kids are getting older. I'll actually be able to start going more frequently, right? I'll be able to start taking road trips. And so I don't know if I'm going to drive like you, but I'd absolutely love those road podcasts you would do. So if you ever, if you ever resume those, I think those will be brilliant. But I think, like I said, there's an opportunity for all of us to create what we want. And as long as we're believing in it, we make it great. And if everyone has fun, that's even more, that's the cherry on top, right? Because if you're having fun and learning something, that's brilliant, right? And so then for that, like, let's say there's someone aspiring out there. Are you engaging with anyone at Cronkite? Are you pulling anyone out that's kind of like maybe internish, or would that be something down the road?
We are going to launch an internship program, but it's not going to be. I see AZ Central and some of these other places that are just like, here, do our grunt work.
Yeah.
And there's not really a situation where they're linked up with somebody. And editing is sort of, we haven't seen a lot of that. Like, I think, the Athletic, before they let everybody go, they had 2 editors on staff, which is pretty cool. That side of it isn't really out there. And so I think that, I started Seatown Rivals is my very first website that I launched, and it covered high schools in the Chandler area. And the reason that I
yes, I remember.
the site is because I couldn't get a job. I went to Cronkite. I dropped out of Cronkite because they were moving the school to Phoenix, and I couldn't.
That's right. They were moving campuses. Okay.
Yeah, and so I was there. This was like 2008 when they were shifting from Tempe to Phoenix, and I was majoring in creative writing and also in radio broadcasting. And then it hit me. I was like, oh, I sound like Seth Rogen ate Ray Romano. Like, I'm not going to get Al McCoy's job. And so, I think some people will tolerate the way that I sound, but it's not for everybody all the time. So I figured, like, it's probably not worth me driving to Phoenix every single day. Right. I had one kid already. I had another one on the way. I didn't start at ASU until I was like 24 or 25. And so...
Same, by the way.
Yeah, and so it was a weird experience being older than everybody else, because I remember my very first class in Cronkite, JMC 302, I think is what it was. We're all sitting in this big lecture hall, and the professor plays the movie Pursuit of Happiness.
Okay.
And then at the end of the movie, he says to the class, if you're not willing to work as hard as Will Smith in this movie, then this isn't the profession for you.
Wow.
And I remember looking around, and all these 18-year-olds in the class were like, yes, sir. And I'm like 24, and I already have a kid, and I just lost it. I was laughing so hard. I was like, you guys have any concept whatsoever of what kind of struggle Will Smith's character went through in this movie?
Yeah,
of like having to keep the bathroom stall closed with his foot while sleeping in there with his kid just to go through school, to go out and get his job. If you have one ate his work ethic in a privileged circumstance,
Right.
you are going to kill it in this industry. And I just remember laughing because it was like, this is not, this is definitely a kind of a place of privilege.
Right.
And because I had a kid and because my wife was putting me through school and I just wanted to get it over with as quickly as possible, I couldn't get an internship anywhere, and then nobody would hire me because I didn't intern.
Oh, okay.
So I'd be like, guys, I promise I'm good. And they'd be like, yeah, we don't.
Yeah, exactly. You go in, it's like, I'm a dad. I'm a husband.
Yeah.
Come on. I'm
And
reliable.
so I remember I worked for Valerie Bertinelli, the like
Oh, good
1970s
Lord. Mrs. Van
actor.
Halen. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So I worked for Valerie Bertinelli. She was a principal investor in a startup company called Vibo. And we were working out of that big building in Mesa, the Bank of America building.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We were like the only tenants in there. And it was like a Groupon type app. And the whole thing was just a giant bill of goods. And they ended up putting me through training to be a social media manager.
Okay.
And so I learned all of this stuff about how to run
What
social
year was
media.
this?
2012.
Wow. Okay. So that's real, yeah, early on type stuff.
And I went on vacation. Things were kind of tanking. Like the economy was recovering, so not many people had as much need for discounts. So we just kind of entered the space at the wrong time. Plus, Valerie Bertinelli at the time was on Hot in Cleveland with Betty White. The idea
Oh,
of
yeah, that's right.
of like a technology company was silly because it wasn't her demographic. But so the whole thing was starting to kind of tank, and they had to make some cuts. And so I got back from a Wyoming vacation, and they laid me off that next morning. And I remember thinking, like, well, what the hell do I do now? Because I left the job I loved at University of Phoenix. I worked the night shift, and all my students were in Korea and Guam. They were all military students. I loved it.
Wow, that is cool. Okay.
And I was like, well, I guess I can try to get that job back, but I don't know what to do. So in the day I got laid off, I created my first website. I was like, I'm just going to take a crack at this on my own. And so to bring it back around, I put out a call to people in the city of Chandler. And I said, like, hey, does anybody want to help me launch this thing? And I got an email back from Fabian Ardaya that day.
Oh, yeah. Right on.
He was like a 14-year-old high school junior. And so me and Fabian and Dominic Catronio,
who
is a broadcaster, we launched this thing, and it blew up almost immediately.
Excellent.
And so it was cool. I got to mentor those guys when they were just high schoolers, and I loved the experience because at the same time I was a junior high English teacher, and so I had gotten that job as well. And then after 3 years, this got so big that I had to choose.
Wow, that's cool.
I left teaching and stuck with that. So the reason I bring that up is I just put out that we're going to do some internships, and the most of the responses I got were from high school kids. And I was like, well, what I meant was Cronkite, because not a lot of these people out here are actually mentoring right now.
Right.
And I have people who on staff with me who have done play-by-play, who have done stand-up, who were columnists, who were beat reporters for 25 years before getting laid off, like Jason Skoda.
Right.
We have all these people with all this incredible experience. With Greg Esposito, who worked for the Suns and ran their social media. We can train you in anything and have it be a valuable experience for you. And I'll let you create something for Arizona Varsity and own your content when you leave. We're not going to keep it. So we'll develop whatever it is you're working on, and then it's for you. So I was like, yeah, this is going to be a really great thing for a lot of college kids. And so I put the announcement out there, and I've had 40 emails in the last week, and 35 of them are from high school kids.
Wow.
So it'll be interesting to see how that goes, because it was a lot of work.
I bet.
You can ask Dom, you can ask Fabian. I put a lot of work into working with those guys, and definitely can't take credit for their success. They're incredibly talented.
They are brilliant.
But I'm not going to go halfway with somebody who's an intern on staff, and then we already have like 17 people who are co-owners. So I just got to figure out the best possible way to make sure everybody's taken care of in a mentor relationship. I did work for a year as an AmeriCorps Vista with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and so a lot of the stuff that they did, I think, could translate when I was working with them, could translate into pairing somebody up with a mentor giving them 6 months to come up with some type of concept, and then once that 6 months is over, send them out into the world with that work being
Absolutely.
theirs.
With that experience. That's brilliant. And that's actually very cool. Always given that opportunity. And I think that's kind of, back, and it's kind of ties in well because given the internships, but also that you're working with high schoolers, right? And that you were able to previously. And that was, it kind of feels like this is, so let me kind of tie this up together as well. Because like I wanted to chat about high school recruiting as well, right? I absolutely love your evaluation, the way you do that. You and Chili have a great rapport and great conversation and going back and forth. But for me, I'll use my own word, right? I'm a recruiting nincompoop, right? I'm trying to learn, but it's always, I'm trying to understand, right? There's we've talked about this, right? There's a trillion things that can occur, from the moment in time they offer to they sign to when they're actually productive on the field. And so, separate, right? The second part is actually evaluating talent. But one, what is it that really brings you joy about high school recruiting, right? I always hear you talking and glowing about many of these students that get an opportunity, but what is it about high school recruiting that is, exciting for you?
Their success, and
Okay.
then just them as people, because most of these kids are going to flame out based on whatever the expectations are
Mm,
of them coming in. And if you're more interested in them as people than them in the jersey that you're interested in, because I think that's the biggest shift in mindset that I always push for, and this is why I butt heads with a lot of fans.
okay.
Um, a lot of the time is because I'm an ideologue. That's I'm people, right?
Right.
I don't care what jersey you wear. I don't care where you go. I care whether or not you are working to maximize your opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And in the event that you don't work to maximize your opportunity and you hit a rough patch, what do you do to work your way out
Okay.
of that? I love more than anything in the world to see people face adversity and then find ways to overcome it. That's
Got it.
my favorite thing on the planet. And the truth is, a lot of these super athletes coming out of high school, they don't have a ton of adversity. Some of them have really interesting stories, but
Okay.
they're God-given talent that
Right.
that people would kill for, the ability to have an 11-foot broad jump and run a 4.440 with a 42-inch vertical,
Right.
and to be able to fly like that and hit like that. Like, that wasn't me. I was definitely on the bench. I played at Chandler High. I was with Terrell Suggs before he transferred over to Hamilton. I
Okay.
was with Nick Johnson was on my team, who was
Okay.
supposed to be the next big thing at ASU, and then he punched a cop and went to prison for
Remember. Yeah.
6 years. And I was not on their level at all, but I was there and I showed up, and I think, the first time I ever tried to tackle Suggs, I was like, all right, well, I think I'm gonna be writing about sports instead of playing.
Because he was a
Um,
running back then.
he was a running back then. Yeah, he ran for
Yeah.
like 2,700 yards as a senior. We used him as a fullback at Chandler,
Okay.
and he didn't get a lot of carries because the assistant coach's son, Derek Richardson, was our
Mm.
halfback, and we ran a wing T, so he'd get like 7 to 9 carries a game. He went
Yeah.
to Hamilton, and they were giving him the ball 30 times, and so I
Yep.
think it was an awesome move for him.
That's why he left.
Killer
I got
basketball
you.
player, like, incredible basketball player. I think Syracuse was poking around at whether or not they could bring him in.
He was a dual sport then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
He ran up 34 on us his senior year when I was a sophomore bench rider on.
Well, I guess he had some sort of vendetta against the coach, right? Because it's like, if you're not going to let me play, I'm going to show you what I can do.
That was like scandalous at the time, because the year Hamilton opened, Chandler only had one high school, and so the year Hamilton opened, Terrell was still at Chandler, and then the second year Hamilton was open was when he left.
He left.
That was a really big deal. But from my time playing, all the different sports in high school, I think I wrestled, volleyball for a minute, and then a girl was like, "You should run track," and so the girl was like 2 years older than me, and I was like, "You're talking to me, and I will do whatever you say." And so I left the volleyball team
Tell me where.
in the middle of tryout week to go run track, and ended up doing that all through high school. Played football also, and basketball.
What events did you do in track?
this is before I discovered Twinkies, but I was a 2 mile guy.
Good for you, man.
I gained probably 100 pounds at 19 years old, but I was in high
Right
school.
on.
I was about $150, and I remember my first timed mile as a freshman. I ran a 5:13. They moved me up to
Wow.
varsity immediately, and Chandler track is serious.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, they have they've got they won at one point like 9 girls state championships in a row, and the boys win on average like one out of every 3 years. Um, and then the moment was just too much for me. Like to be good at something was, I think my fastest mile ever after running a 5:13, like my first day of practice as a freshman. I don't think I ever broke 5 minutes ever.
Wow.
And so I didn't have the work ethic, and it wasn't like I was out there because I would rather be playing a sport than hanging out at my house. So
Exactly. And the reason I ask, right, is because I was at my peak 185 in high school, right? So that's 100 and more pounds ago as well. And yeah, I tried high jump and I didn't get very far with that one, but I landed on shot put and discus. So if there was anything that I did, it was always the fat man run, right? So I think if I had, like you said, if I had the mindset to be able to, if I broke out of the mindset, I probably could have done, maybe a 200 sprint, because we do the fat man sprint. I played basketball, so I was lean. I had the legs, so I could go. But I mean, long distance, I absolutely hated. I still hate, but I think it would. That's why I asked, right? Because it's just
weren't track meets like the greatest thing in the entire world?
They were pretty fun. They were.
It's like 5 hours long. Your events, like what? At the most 10 minutes of action
If that,
in 5 hours.
Exactly.
And so you're just like hanging out with kids from another school.
You're just talking, right? And just hanging out or whatever. Actually, I was actually admiring the other teams, but anyway.
Yeah. No, that was my favorite thing. My favorite thing about high school was just track meets. It'd be like 5 hours. What I did lasted 10 minutes, and then we come back and just chill.
You just putzed around.
Everybody, and then everybody sees, because you go as hard as you can
right
in heat, so then everybody sees you almost pass out. Everybody sees you dry heave, right? So everyone's seen you at your absolute worst, and then you saw everybody at their absolute worst, and then you're all just kind of bonded in that, like, hey,
exactly,
we tried a thing and we almost died.
We're all a mess. And I think, again, that was the other thing too. It's like that was kind of early winter, spring, like not fall, or summer, so it wasn't horrific from a temperature perspective. At times it was actually not bad. I remember some nights, right, where it'd actually be cold and you'd be like, okay, I need to bundle up, where and even then it was probably only 70, 68 degrees, which is the regular now for me up here back home. But I mean, it was a lot of fun, because you always, and then you're on, we used to go down to Douglas, right? I went to Desert View, and so that was a 2-hour bus ride all the way down, for whatever. And I was actually lucky enough for one meet. We had a meet there and it was raining. I mean, there was mud and thunder and all kinds of nonsense. My grandmother lives in Douglas, so I actually left right after my event, went to her place, took a warm shower, and came back all, clean and happy. And it's like everyone's all pissed. It's like, where'd you go? I went to my grandmother's house. Rah, rah, rah. But
so to bring us back around, you just mentioned Desert View. And I'm gonna come back around. I'm gonna explain to you exactly what I love about the high school and recruiting, and just high school sports in general. So you went to Desert View. When I hear Desert View, I think of like, okay, who's on that team?
Yes.
And this year, coming up on the 2020 season, if we have one, they had a running back run for over 1,000 yards as a sophomore.
Wow.
And I'm super, super excited to see what he could do as a junior.
Okay.
Well, he tore his ACL right before the season started last year. So he missed the season. The two running backs that came in behind him both eclipsed 1,000 yards.
Wow.
And now that running back is back for his senior year. They have 3,000-yard backs.
That's wild.
They're all going to be seniors at the same school. And
they have an O-line to help with that?
Probably not. But enough to get them. I mean, enough in that offense to get them those stats in the first place. But so when I think about that, there are goosebumps right now of like, dude, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
3,000-yard backs at a small school in Tucson, and I'm like, I hope we have a season just so I can go down there.
Yeah,
and
that makes sense.
and see who comes out of it and the competition. If they don't stick around, and they don't transfer, and they all stick it out together, like how much can I work to blow these kids up so that people
Okay.
know their names and know what's going on 100 miles from where I live. And running backs in high school are a dime a dozen. Can any of them stand out enough to catch the eye of some
Okay.
random college coach somewhere in the country that looks at them and sees a 5'10", 180-pound kid that's the same 5'10", 180-pound kid they can get anywhere else, but that zeroes in on that person and says, I can bring them in. And then you have a kid from Tucson go to some, let's say, like small D2 school
Right.
in Southwest Minnesota, and then the trajectory of that kid's entire life changes.
Oh, it's completely different.
Right. The person who they marry, or like the friends that they
Absolutely.
everything is going to be, and to be able to be a part of it, to even know them peripherally, and just have to see the sliding doors effect go into place. I mean, I love that. I love stories. I just love seeing people develop, and
Right.
it's interesting to me, and maybe only to me. And if I can get other people to buy into the fact that it's interesting too, then we'll keep having people click on the stories at Arizona Varsity, and that'll keep us around for a while. But I want to see people achieve things, and I understand that athletes are not at some great disadvantage in the first place, but they are given an opportunity to make the most of their
Right.
circumstances. And I don't care where they go. I just want to see them succeed. And so I think a lot of ASU fans in particular, when I mention that, like, I wish more Arizona kids were going to Arizona schools.
Of course.
It's just so I can get a closer look at it's purely selfish for me. I want to see them. I take a lot of pride in the fact that Arizona is on the jersey. A lot of pride in that.
Okay.
But so if it's a kid from Wisconsin or Miami or California who's coming to Arizona State and elects to wear that Arizona on their jersey, and they're not getting paid for it, I'm a firm believer that the players who elect to play for Arizona State are 10 times the Sun Devil that any coach who is not even an alumni and is taking a multi-million-dollar paycheck to be here.
Okay.
Ever.
Right.
So I'm almost always on the side of the players with everything, just undergoing that mindset. If it's somebody from Arizona who chooses to and gets the opportunity,
Yes.
and then chooses to wear Arizona on their chest, and I know that the coaches understand and have that respect for the fact the word Arizona is on the jersey as well, and that's why they prioritize those Arizona kids to come in and represent their home state. That gets me hyped.
Like, see, that's brilliant too, because I mean, as a California resident, I'm always happy to see, California kids, and it's always SoCal. We don't see a lot of NorCal kids going to Arizona, unfortunately, and so that may change depending on however the recruiting process goes. But to that, right, we've always seen that, we talked about this separately, right, and again, we talked about why. Why are kids not choosing ASU? I'll tell you why I didn't stay in in-state, because I wanted to get the hell out. I was born and raised, got my degree. I didn't want to live there and, raise my family and continue, but I got my degree there. But like, is it really about kids just wanting to get away from home, or is it, the coaches are really not paying as much attention as they should? Or is it something else?
Not a monolith. It's not one thing. And no matter what I tell you, and no matter what the people watching this hear come out of my mouth, you're still going to believe what you believe. Okay. Especially people who subscribe to these sites that give you recruiting information.
And I'm an empty cup on this one, so whatever you say, it'll help.
Look, if you're a fan of your team, you're always going to give your team the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
I talk to all these kids.
You do.
all of
And
them.
that's the brilliance of I think that's why, I look forward to what you get to say. And that's why I love these conversations. And again, you don't have to share everything that we always have. We have to save some of the stuff for slices, right? But the thing is that, what have you seen? What can you share?
So if you want to get hyper specific, right now at Arizona State, the man running the show is Antonio Pierce.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Antonio Pierce show. Okay.
Yes.
At,
that's no secret.
Yeah, and so you have a school. Let's say you take a school like University of Oregon, which has like 4 commits from the state of Arizona already. 3 of them highly touted.
Which was crazy because it was Cal the year before that.
Yeah. These kids that were going to Oregon, though, they're all guys that, outside of Brandon Buckner, who is really the one ASU should have wanted, they're all guys that ASU really wanted. Ty Thompson, the quarterback, and the 2 offensive linemen.
Right.
They were high on Arizona State's list. Antonio Pierce is from California.
Yes.
He coached high school football in California. He played junior college football in California. He came out here and he brought his team, Long Beach Poly, up against Centennial, which is one of our best public schools, and they won like 13-12. Jack Jones and Kobe Williams were the 2 starting cornerbacks on his team.
Oh, that's funny.
I actually went out and covered that game. I can guarantee you that Antonio Pierce sees California and he sees Arizona and he knows California is where it's at.
Interesting.
Right? And this staff was brought in by Ray Anderson to make California a priority. So it fits with what they want to make a priority. It fits with Antonio Pierce's roots.
Mm-hmm.
It's reflected in the assistant coaches that they have brought on board. In Prentice Gill, Chris Hawkins of the California Connections. Chris Hawkins being like the youngest position coach, maybe in Pac-12 history. I don't know.
Wow. How old is he?
Dad, 24. He's 25 now. Okay. Armand Hawkins, his dad is the head of Ground Zero, one of the biggest 7-on-7 programs.
Okay.
Out in California. So the effort is there to tap into that vein. That's where their priority lies, and you can see it in the way they hire, the way they offer, everything points to that being the priority.
Right.
When Herm Edwards came in and he was getting to know the lay of the land, a lot of people were frustrated with Herm Edwards because he comes from television and he's used to explaining things to people as if they don't know.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you're a subscriber to Sun Devil Source, or if you are in the Huddle, shout out to Hope
Absolutely. And
Huddle. If you are a subscriber to those 2 sites and you're active in that community, you knew way more about what Herm Edwards' job was going to be in that area than he did when he was first hired to do that job. And so when Herm Edwards would come out and explain these kids, the difference between this and the NFL draft is they pick you.
Right.
Somebody who was like a recruiting addict, they had to hear that and be like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Why,
the cringe.
I think it really came out of Herm Edwards' sort of who he was and what he did for the previous 9 years was take a thing and repackage it so that your average television consumer could digest it.
Okay.
Right?
Got it.
So, he wasn't speaking to the mega fans. He was speaking to
me.
Yeah, and to himself. He was repeating things that he had learned, right? And one of the things that he said was they're going to focus on everything within a 500-mile radius, within a tank of gas. That changed almost immediately when Antonio Pierce comes in. And he realizes, actually, I have ins in Georgia and in Florida.
Wow.
They just got a verbal commitment, I think, from Wisconsin.
Yes,
and so they went national almost immediately.
Yes.
More so now than when he first got hired. So what that shows me is, and I don't have any inside information here. I'm not a person with sources.
No, that's fair. Right. It's just observations and everything. That's fair.
I do everything from the kids' side.
And the parent side, as I understand
and the
it.
parent side, yeah,
Yes.
and the high school coaches. And so,
Right.
um, I do get a lot of pushback from people saying, like, you're just regurgitating the frustrations of Arizona's high school coaches. Sometimes, I mean, I'm not going to lie about that. But
Yeah,
I
but then why
don't.
would you concoct it, right? I mean, that's the other thing. I think that's what everyone's
Right.
like. I think that's what everyone's. Oh, he's just making it up. It's like,
Yeah.
why, right?
Well, why be upset at me because I want Arizona State to have good local players? Like,
Absolutely.
and if it doesn't happen, I don't care. I'll get to know the players that come in
Exactly. You know them before they leave anyway.
and root for their personal and professional success as well. But so all of that being said, it is very clear where their priorities lie. Okay,
Right.
and then Antonio Pierce came out and said it. He said, we do everything that we can to make these top Arizona recruits feel loved. But if at the end of the day they don't want to be here, then we'll play against them. And Herm Edwards even said that we'll play against them, we'll beat them, and then
Right.
we'll get the really good players from California, and then there won't even be room for these Arizona kids. And I think where my personal preference is, and the people who get paid to do the job at Arizona State, where they deviate here, is to me they should always be a priority because
okay.
taxpayer-funded institution at the state level, and it says Arizona across your chest. Go get them, right? So, but again, I'm an ideologue. You don't need to do that. The people who are in charge for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm in commentary from the outside.
Got it.
What I will say is this: is Arizona State doing everything they possibly could to get these in-state kids?
Okay.
Those kids say no.
You've shared that.
Yes, those kids say no.
Hmm.
Those parents say no. Those high school coaches say no. So you can individually pick apart what anything that is a kid or a high school coach or a parent says, and you can say, oh, well, maybe they have this XYZ agenda. Maybe they're just unsatisfied. Maybe they're bitter.
Right.
They just like to complain. You can say whatever you want. You can say whatever you want about those people. But when it's an overwhelming chorus over time,
yes,
maybe you should give it some merit. Now, again, Arizona State can go out and get whoever they want. At the end of the day, all that matters is the team they put on the field and how that team chooses to compete.
Right.
This is just a small part of it that is a thorn in the side of people who would rather not think about it at all. But I will say this. I know that Arizona State and University of Arizona, for that matter, are not doing everything they could to get these kids. Because the assumption is, and I'm sure you've heard stories like this of like, if a high school coach goes to a high school, they'll even talk to the janitor to find out about a kid's character.
Okay, that's fair. Right, I've seen that.
Like
yeah, because they have to go ahead. I think what was that? It was actually a book I read. Right, they interview every damn person, especially, and they're always mindful of the girlfriend too, because the girlfriend's looking someplace, and that's where the player's looking, and so they have to know everything about that player from everyone's perspective.
Yes. So, with that in mind, with the understanding that that's how thorough they are at exploring some of these options, I've been doing this going into season 6.
Okay.
Before that, had a relationship with all of these high school kids and all of these high school coaches. I have college coaches reach out to me daily. I have college coaches reach out to my staff, Cody Cameron and Chili and Alec Simpson, multiple times a day. Okay? In 6 years, the amount of times that Arizona State has reached out to me personally to gauge my feelings or views on any specific prospect, or to get background information on any specific prospect, or even to get a feeler on how that prospect feels about the different schools that they might be leaning toward.
Right.
In 6 years of being very close to these players and very close to these coaches and their parents. 0. 0 times. The number of times that University of Arizona has done the same.
Really? Across across the past 2 regimes, if you will, for both schools.
Yes.
That's 4 different coaches.
Coach
Wow.
at University of Arizona got a job at another Pac-12 school, and it was only then that he started reaching out to me and talks to my staff more regularly than almost any college coach. The same is to be said for people who have left Arizona State staff.
I was going to say, has Todd Graham reached out to you then?
No. Todd
Okay.
Graham, if I was to interview Todd Graham 5 days in a row and then go to interview him on the 6th, he would introduce himself to me on that 6th day.
I got you.
Right. Like I thanked him. This was a couple of months ago. I thanked him, which is one of the funny things because I get accused online of being like a mouthpiece for Todd Graham.
I've seen that. Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
The dude has no idea who I am.
Yeah, exactly.
I thanked him for putting in a good word for Ricardo Stewart.
Oh, yeah.
With Jay Norvell at University of Nevada. Because I think Ricardo Stewart is one of the most special people. Forget football players, human beings. I think he's going to make an incredible football coach. And I love that he's working with Jay Norvell out at University of Nevada.
I agree. I'm rooting for Jay Norvell and Nevada all day. So absolutely.
So I want to say it was probably February. I saw Todd Graham and I was like, hey, man, I just want to thank you so much for introducing Ricardo to Jay Norvell, setting that whole thing in motion. That was incredible. And he was like, I'm Todd Graham. and I was like, yeah, I know. He goes, and then he was like, I know Ricardo. And I was like, yeah, I know. I was thanking you for, and he's like, Ricardo used to work for me. And I was like, yeah, I know. And he's like, yeah, he was our chaplain. And I'm like, I'm very aware.
Oh my goodness.
One of my good friends. But no, so like, no, I have no relationship with any of the current staff or anything like that. But that's one of the ways that I know
Right.
is that are they doing everything that they possibly could? That would probably include having some type of relationship with somebody on my staff, and that just doesn't exist. And there's nothing wrong with that because they can do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
And they've gotten some pretty damn good players out of it. But yeah, so that's where I'm coming from is I see that Arizona across the chest, and I'm like, man, I'm not from here originally, but I got here a long time ago.
Absolutely.
It's my home, and I choose for it to be my home. And I got my degree from Arizona State, English literature, super useful. And
it's working to help, right?
Yeah, and maybe a day when I don't owe them money anymore or owe the federal government money for my degree anymore, I'll be able to slip a little bit more away from the analysis role into fandom. But the thing that I compensate for just having to root for somebody is my mom went to the University of Wyoming, so I cheer for the Cowboys, which is going to make that 2024 game.
Is that when it is? 24? Here or there? Because we had this conversation on Twitter.
There's no way in hell that ASU would ever schedule a game in Laramie, and you should never, ever go to Laramie. It's a health hazard. So.
Okay, maybe I shouldn't go.
Stadium, yeah.
So it's here then. So it's nothing back there because that's always that's still as now that Laramie was on my bucket list, so maybe now it's not.
Laramie should not be on your bucket list. Laramie is 7,200 feet elevation, perpetual 40-mile-an-hour wind, so no trees even grow.
Wow.
Further north.
Okay.
Much further north on the border. Sheridan, Wyoming. That's where you want to go.
Is that where it's at?
Yeah, or Cody, Wyoming, where Kanye bought his sprawling ranch.
He bought a county or something, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you can buy that much in there. So no, that's brilliant, right? Because again, not only is it where you're trying to help everyone, because I always track some of the names like Hamilcar Rashid, right? I think you were very high on him at Oregon State, and he's an absolute beast, right? And he's going to have, again, if we have a season, he's going to absolutely have a brilliant senior season, right? And then Henry Haddis, we talked about him a lot even before there was talk of him transferring to ASU. But I think it's like, now he's here, he's close. But was he a local product? Or because
New Mexico.
Okay, so but you knew him.
I got to cover him at a couple of rivals camps.
Right, and so that was actually very cool to be able to see that as well. So it's always, it's always for me whenever I see you put a name out there or so forth, right? It's always, why not, right? Because again, they're having such a brilliant performance. Now, again, obviously, a Stanford degree is very difficult to compete against, right? But people are always transferring out once they get that degree and so forth.
Yeah.
But there's always, it's like Kyle Dodd says, why not us? It's actually very interesting. It's not necessarily why not us. It's like, why aren't we? It almost feels like it's why aren't we trying differently? We're not necessarily hard enough, but we're looking elsewhere. And now it seems that everything's national, because now the conversation is, we're going to find the talent, especially O-line, where it lives, right? That's why they're offering everyone everyone back east, right? That's why that's where the big bodies are. So, I mean, I did see a report. I don't know who did this. I don't know if it was Bill Connolly or someone else, but they were just comparing the size of high school players relative to all the regions, and everyone that's the beef and the ham is back east, right? It's not necessary. You're looking for the wide receivers and and all this the speed here on the West Coast, but if you need the ham, you go Midwest and East Coast. So I mean, it's just, will you be doing that as part of your evaluation? I know you went to Georgia, but will you be going to those camps out east to kind of evaluate some of that talent?
Yeah, I mean, if they have them, then I guess, if ASU is hunting nationally, and if University of Arizona, I don't know how long they're going to have Kevin Sumlin around, but if they keep looking toward Texas, and if I want to see some of these guys in person, then that's the choice that you ultimately have to make. I think that part of Arizona State's recruiting philosophy was cemented when they got bullied by San Diego State.
Yeah, twice.
Because, there was those stories from Al Lukenbill of like Herm Edwards got here, looked at the team, and he was like, Al, you got to come help me. Like, these guys are small. It was that Herm Edwards was ultimately dissatisfied with the size of the team.
He said that, though. I can't remember if it was the HBO special, right? He said,
so I don't feel like I'm disparaging anybody.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. And so, I think him and Al Lukenbill, they got together and they said, like, we need to get bigger and longer and build these guys up. And then I think when that really got hammered home for them was when they couldn't even get the offense the ball back against San Diego State in San Diego in his first year. And I think that I just settled in with the staff that, like, all right, we need to be bigger. Like, there should be no excuse to getting pushed around.
Right.
Even if we do get to the point where we have kind of a high-flying offense, we need to be like Oklahoma is, big and beefy and strong, but agile.
Right.
And one of the things that Al Lukenbill said that stands out to me to this day is the goal is to get their offensive line and most of the positions on the team to the point where it's like shark's teeth, and where you have a row in the front, and when those fall out, there's a row right behind it ready to go.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
Part of that's the next man up mentality, and another part of that is, can you push back against the culture of immediate gratification to get guys to want to be in college for 5 years? And in order to do that, you're going to have
I see what you're saying.
Some risks on some people who were taller and rawer, that more raw.
I like raw personally.
Yeah, that might not be as highly touted or might not have a bunch of options elsewhere. And so what you need to do is then you need to scour the entire country. And I like that Arizona State has a situation where they have like a whole department that handles recruiting. There's people within that department that are sort of exempt from it, which maybe they shouldn't be. But Dave Christensen, the offensive line coach, he can kind of go out and recruit wherever he wants, however he wants. And then Antonio Pierce, obviously, he runs the show. And so, whatever Antonio Pierce wants to do is what they're going to do. And right now, that includes scouring the entire country. And we'll see how that works out. The cool thing about that is it's Arizona. It's the land of opportunity. You can come here from anywhere and fit in. You really can, especially with a coaching staff that's from a bunch of different places. And when your head coach is an Army brat and he can adapt to any situation, that's massive.
Oh, that's absolutely. It doesn't help, and it helps that he was on ESPN for 9 years.
it helps that he was on ESPN for 9 years, and so there's a comfortability factor with the parents, but he can just fit in with anybody in any situation. I think a lot of that has to do with his upbringing. And I mean, you saw grown men cry when he left ESPN. He's obviously able to make
Yeah,
an impact
absolutely.
on a personal level with people. I want nothing more than for Arizona State to succeed and to see the people involved with that program that I know, like Sean Aguano. I would love nothing more than for Sean
How long have
Aguano
you known him?
since 2012 when he
Okay.
took over.
Wow.
When he took over the Chandler Wolves was my first year covering
Okay.
his team right before they started running off a bunch of championships. But he actually got it. He came to Chandler High School the year after I left. Was his first year teaching. He was on staff here for almost 10 years before he took over.
Okay.
Head coach.
So he was there on staff while you were playing, but he didn't take over head coach. Okay, got it.
No. He was there the next year.
Okay. That's what you said. I'm sorry. Yeah.
He played like running back at a D3 school in Oregon or something like that. I think he's from Hawaii. But yeah, so he got there, and then they, like I said, Chandler was always a track school, and they came up with the idea to run spread and get 5 of those track kids
Wow.
field on offense at any given time. And that's when stuff really started to get interesting. And they had the talent for a long time, but they weren't putting things together and winning.
It's almost like Oregon South, like Track City South. They just go ahead and it's like, let's go ahead and commandeer that talent. Okay, go.
Exactly.
Wow. And then they put it all together. I got some questions for you, but there's so many more I want to ask. But which coaches? I know I've warned you about some of the games that I want to play, but what team, if you can, I don't want. And again, if you're going to ruin some trust here, I don't blame you. But what team is reaching out to you the most right now about recruits, or last season?
This year,
yeah,
is Nevada and New Mexico.
Oh, so Coach Gonzalez is actually. Are you talking with him, or is it just his staff?
His staff, yeah. And in Nevada, and a lot of there's a few D3s that we communicate with very regularly.
Okay.
A lot of D2s. We got connections at Washington State and Cal.
That makes sense. Cal would be there, right? You know, because I mean they had a good pipeline last year, so tapping into it and kids that want to get there for sure. Okay.
A guy that used to work for me that just left to go to the UCLA site, Alec Simpson. He's got really good relationships at Wisconsin and UCLA, where a lot of Arizona kids go. So he's talking to them a lot. He was on the phone with Mike Leach the other day for a while.
Right.
Which I'm almost glad he left my staff, so Mike Leach doesn't hold my tweets about him against Alec.
Right.
But you know, we don't reach out to staffs. We wait for them to realize that we can be an asset,
right,
and let them, because we're not trying to push kids. They're going to find the opportunity themselves, and we would never in a million years take credit for anything that they're doing.
Absolutely, that's fair.
Nothing to do with us. But if somebody wants to know about the kids here, I will talk about them all day long. Like, this is what this kid can do in your offense or on your defense. Here's what their shortcomings are, but here's where I think that some of their work ethic might help them. You know, and we're very honest, and but also running the site doesn't leave me a lot of room to do that, and so I leave a lot of that to Chili and Cody Cameron, Alex Simpson. You know, I think that for where they're at in their careers, those relationships with the coaches are going to be a lot more important, and it frees me up to just kind of sit back and say whatever I want about whatever I want.
Exactly, and go ahead and go, and you're not fixated on all that. I have a really
hard time muzzling myself on the internet.
You know, so. And it's we are worse off if you did, right? Because I absolutely love that you. That's again back to what I shared with you earlier. It's an inspiration being able to share, you know, what's on your mind or what you develop, right? And I kind of look to you to be able for that kind of inspiration and motivation. That's kind of like that COVID-19 thread that I had put together. I put it together. I have had it together since last Saturday. So being able to kind of have that together kind of spooked the hell out of me. Just seeing that, you know, up to 5 coaches could die if they just get infected at all. And so now being able to see all the news today with, like, what was it, Clemson with a crap ton of infected athletes today, and then UCLA, their players are actually saying, look, we need more coverage. So it's just, it was just, like I said, I was worried, but I knew you wouldn't. So I knew that's definitely something that had to happen, had to put out there. So again, I thank you for that. So game time. Okay, I got a few games here. I think I told you one. One of them's going to be the misery index for everyone. I have 2 cameras. That's why I'm bouncing back and forth. We also have another game called If You Had To. If You Had To. And again, I'm going to be asking Ralph some of these questions. I'm going to get another one. Given that you have a way with words, I'm actually going to do one of these called 5-second rule.
Okay.
And we play these games at the Sun Devil Summit. Some of you guys have already seen this one. And we got some people on chat, so actually we're gonna do blank slate. Have you played that one as well?
No.
Okay, so that one
is.
So what it is, I'm going to give you a word, and whether you have to fill in the blank before or after the word. So that's what blank slate is, and whoever does that matches you the most, we'll go ahead and get them a gift card to Cactus Sports or DeFalco's. We'll give them a choice.
Right.
So
here, I got something for you real quick.
Please.
I was looking in the adult beverage cabinet for.
Oh, outstanding! I can't wait.
Something team colored in honor of your show, and I know that there's some ASU fans probably watching this right now that you understand this is an ASU reference, even though it's blue and red and the color of your rivals. But I figured I had to get something to put in it that was matching a team color. And I'm a little bit limited on stock right now because
that's fair.
Filling up everything includes leaving the house. So I came up with a drink, and it sounds probably like the worst thing in the world, but I think it's very apropos of just the Arizona State experience, especially as a student. So I got some Di Serono here from Maroon.
Oh my goodness!
With the gold, it's gonna be terrible. Galliano.
Good Lord.
So I'm gonna pour myself a little bit of, we'll call it a Sun Devil Pride.
I'm glad you're doing that. There's a couple points I want to make with that. One, I actually had my drink, my absolute poison back in college was a Long Island iced tea. So that is, for those of you that that don't know, it's tequila, vodka, gin, and rum with sweet and sour and Coke. And so you mixing it like that, salud, cheers, my man, love you, miss you. That's actually quite. But again, Justin in the chat, if you can see that, Ralph, he actually nailed it as well. Linda Carter, the original Wonder Woman, is a Sun Devil. She actually, as I understand it, left her last semester at ASU to go to Hollywood and do what she did. So even if she didn't graduate, she can do a Byron Scott like he did this semester and come back and get her degree.
That's pretty wild. That was cool.
Exactly. That was brilliant. I'm like, I was always curious as to had he ever gone. And so it was good to see what we were going that. So back to the first game. There's usually this timer here that I make everyone look at. It's like, and it gives you have 5 seconds to be able to answer this question. But I'm going to go ahead.
Okay.
That's a good face, man. That's a good face.
It tastes like Robitussin with like pine sol in it.
That's not bad when you got like 104 temperature.
No, man.
When you're
That's some anti-COVID elixir right
exactly. Here. That's it. Forget, heat and sun and whatever else it is, it's you know what it is, and I am so to your point, right? I actually did that on the second virtual Sun Devil Summit, and I actually ripped out the cabinet that had all my leftover alcohol because I was so hungover after the second Sun Devil Summit that I got rid of the cabinet and all the alcohol. I'm like, you just need to get the hell out of my house. So
I have never been to a Sun Devil Summit, and the primary reason is I'm afraid because I'm allergic to beer. I'm allergic to
really?
I want to go there and I want to drink beer with everybody, but I'm also afraid like it happens like 1 out of every 2 times. It's a 50-50 shot.
What is
I'm
your
afraid
allergy? Is it just the
hops.
hops?
Yeah.
See, that's mine too. Because so Pliny the Elder, which is one of our famous beers here in in NorCal, I'm allergic to it. I start sneezing, so I feel you. So, but when you cut, so then when we do have the next summit, we will make sure because I don't drink beer too often. We'll do like vodka tonics or something together. So we will.
I do have who's your boys over at Crafty Devils?
Oh yes, of course, love them.
This is what I was drinking before they introduced me to
Ah
Super
yes, I've
Club.
done a few of those.
I think you
Fortunately,
were with me. You were with me when they.
we did. I was lucky enough to
Yeah.
remember that night.
It was fun.
I
We
did.
met Jordan Clark. I introduced you to Jordan Clark there.
That started our slices tradition.
Yeah, much more positive experience out on the town for Jordan Clark that night. Than,
He was rather surrounded. He was surrounded rather well with,
yeah.
but I'm glad, but he ended up committing or didn't he?
Yeah, no, he's here. He was part of the whole Whataburger story.
Yes, exactly. So that was the whole thing there. So
Hey, he's the
that
coolest. He's
huh?
the coolest guy.
You have always been glowing about him just as a person and character and everything else. You were always very excited, and you were extremely excited when he committed because again, you got to know him but also his family. So I think that's why you were kind of excited for that commitment.
Yeah, and I'm more excited as like he's gonna be the stuff he's gonna do with the ASU degree. Like he would have done with any degree, but like just as somebody who also has an ASU degree, I'm like my degree's gonna be worth that much more. He's just,
That's outstanding.
he's an incredible young man.
That is good. So again, as we're talking about, I think Paige Denny will actually trying to hook us up with the right whiskey the next time we all join together. So
Yeah, she's a pro, right? I don't know much about it. I love whiskey because I love Deadwood.
well, when I have her on the social club, we'll actually drink. I'll probably buy a couple bottles and then we'll talk and drink about them together. And then hopefully I will be able to make it through the entire show.
She told me that she has not had Middleton Rare, which is my favorite, and because the only good whiskey I've ever had.
Okay.
Let me know when you have her on, and I will cover a bottle of. I don't know how you're gonna. I can't cover 2 bottles of it because it's like $140.
No,
Like,
no. You don't. Hey, you want to know something? I've earned 6 cents on YouTube, so I'll be able to buy my own bottle eventually.
Hell yeah, 2096.
I'm on my way. So I'm going to use the same card because I know your love affair with cars and what can happen when you leave it alone or when you are around it. And to Paul Hornstein out there, good to talk to you. He's like, I will be sad when the virtual summits end. The virtual summits are actually a permanent fixture now. And the reason we're doing them as a permanent fixture is because there's no reason not to. I think they're working out well. And again, there's a lot of people that want to be able to talk about Sun Devil football or whatever else in the wide world of sports before a game day. So it's a permanent fixture. As long as I am able to host and as long as God blesses me to be on this planet, I will be your host and having those on there. So that's what I wanted to clarify that as well. There was a question out there. Now we'll come back to it. Okay, 2 things. First, name 3 things, and again, as fast as you can, and I will yell time. Name 3 things you do in a car other than drive. Time.
Oh, that was quick.
No, I'm just messing. Go ahead.
Listen to music. Podcasts, me.
Yes, absolutely.
I record podcasts while I drive. And I'm not going to lie, sometimes I pick my nose.
Guilty. I feel seen because I'm not. I do that too. But even though everyone else in the other cars can see you, it's just there's some sort of disconnect or privacy there. But this was the other thing. All right, I'm going to give this one to you, and you can take your time with this one. I think everyone's going to be very interested in. Name 3 games you could make sexy.
Make sexy. You know what? I could probably do a better job of clearing the ice in curling than those guys who do it all like herky jerky, like really quick. I
You
think
know
I
what
can
I heard about that, and I can't remember the word, but the Swedish or Danish word translates to helicopter parent.
helicopter parent.
When they're sweeping and clearing the path for the stone, it translates to helicopter parent. So
I'm not very good at games, and I'm not a super competitive person. But the one board game that I'm really good at is Balderdash, and I feel like just being good at that game, being a good liar, gives you like an aura of mystery about you.
so you could
And
make that game sexy.
I feel like yes, why not? And
Yeah,
um, oof, that's two. You know what?
come on.
I'm really really bad at bowling, and I think any girl that I had ever been with or taken on a date, or obviously gone bowling with my wife,
Right.
I think that getting crushed by them and being able to eat that loss
Yeah.
is sexy in and of itself. I think that
Which is a brilliant conversation. Again, for everyone that's on the stream as well, if you're watching, again, if you're not listening to Pac 12 Apostles, absolutely listen to it, because there's definitely more Pac 12 centric podcasts that I want. But I think that podcast with you talking about you not necessarily being competitive or not was a
first of all,
brilliant conversation. I also have to admit, I take you to bed you and George every night, because I'm actually falling asleep to your podcast at least once a week. So
can I say something about George Reister?
please, I would love to.
That man he's awesome. He's just a
I'm
good,
impressed with him. Yeah, he's actually, I'm very entertained with him and how he's able to do that.
he's full of shit. He's he's awesome, man. I hold him in such high esteem as just like a dad and a husband. He's so cool. I'm so lucky. So lucky. I had he had interviewed Rudy Carpenter, who I've obviously had very many public issues with.
Well, I've had chats with Rudy, so maybe we're in the same spot.
He interviewed Rudy Carpenter a couple years back, and he just gave Rudy Carpenter enough room to express himself without giving
Right.
him so much room that he came off as like unhinged. And it was just such a good interview.
That is
And
cool.
I had never met George, and I reached out to him and I was like, "Hey man, you did a great job with Rudy Carpenter. He came off really well. I feel like more people need to listen to this so they kind of understand the heart of where Rudy's coming from.
Of course.
This was really, really cool, and I just wanted to let you know how cool I thought it was. I never met the guy, and he called me. He called me. He asked for my number, and he called me, and then he asked me a bunch of questions, and they invited me to write for his site. I wrote a couple of articles,
Okay.
but it never really materialized into, because I have so much other stuff going on, to where I could help him keep up his Unafraid Show site.
Yeah.
But him and I would still check in with each other all the time. And then we ran into each other at Pac-12 Media Day.
Okay.
And I let him know that I'd spent about a year trying to get a podcast called Pac-12 Apostles off the ground.
Okay.
And like, why don't we just do an episode right now? And so we sat down with a handheld recorder and talked in the ballroom where all the other coaches were around.
Okay, I do remember that one. Yeah.
And that was episode 1. And we're like 57, 58 episodes deep.
Wow.
And he's become like a really close friend. And that was my first time ever meeting him.
That's cool.
And then at the end of February, I was out in California, and we got to have dinner together, and it was just such an awesome.
You shared some pictures of that, right? You were able to actually do that. So, what was that took you out there? Were you out there for something else, or you just went?
Last Rivals camp before they all got canceled.
Oh, got it. That's excellent. So, hopefully, you can put a good word in for me, because I'd love to definitely have him on the social club as his schedule permits as well.
That would be so great. You guys.
I would love to talk with him, because I mean, obviously as a former player, but just his time, at Oregon as an NFL player. But like you said, as a dad, I love it when he shares stories about his family and what he's, how he's missing out, but also the involvement with, how how the current state of affairs is affecting him and his family, how they're not able to do what they're normally able to. But I like his insights as well. He's able to go ahead and think of everything at a much higher level and give you a great view of what you may not be thinking of. So that's definitely what I'm excited to talk to him about as well.
Yeah, yeah. I actually saw him play when he played for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay.
I went to a game when the Cardinals were still playing at Sun Devil Stadium. I swear on my life, Larry Fitzgerald was on the team and Kurt Warner was the quarterback.
Okay.
And it was the game where Byron Leftwich got his foot broken.
Oh.
And so David Garrard came in and had a really good game. I think the Cardinals won. But my memory of that game is I talked crap to Matt Jones, who was the other tight end on the roster, through the chain link fence. And he gave me the double birds. And I want to say I was just out of high school.
Okay.
And I have a 6'6", 260-pound man flip me off. I was like, oh God.
Yeah, it's like
huge mistake. But yeah, so I had actually seen him play in a game in the NFL. I didn't remember his college career very much because that's I think I was still in high school. I wasn't really paying attention to ASU when Ryan Keeley was running the show. I watched them before when Jake was there, and then I watched them after the Andrew Walter, Rudy Carpenter years. I got super into ASU football. But I don't remember much about the Ryan Keeley years. Ironically, the coolest girl at my entire high school, who everybody was completely in love with, ended up marrying Ryan Keeley. And so at my 10-year reunion, I was hanging out with her. Her name's Danielle. And she introduced me to her husband. She's like, this is Ryan. And he's like, what do you do? And I was like, well, I just launched this site. It's called C-Town Rivals. We cover high school football. And he's like, oh, high school football. He's like, I know a little bit about Arizona high school football. And I had the most pleasant 2-hour conversation with this dude. And I left the reunion, and I was like, man, she really married a really cool guy. Ryan Keeley. What a cool Ryan Keeley. So I didn't even hit me until I was on the way home.
Right.
That I was talking with former Arizona State quarterback Ryan Keeley, who, by the way, is the coolest dude on the planet now. And
really?
Could not be more, apologetic's the wrong word, could not be more humbled by his time and the opportunities that he kind of let slip through his fingers at Arizona State.
Interesting.
And the fact that he's turned into this just awesome family man with 4 kids and a great husband, that's super cool.
Is he there in town?
He's in Scottsdale, yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, because one of the quarterbacks that actually lives near me is Andrew Walter, and so him and I were actually planning on having lunch, and the Rona hit, so we never got to connect. So I'm kind of interested to be able to have a conversation with him soon. So again, I remember that. But back to that point, right? The 2002 Oregon game where, Andrew Walter, devised that whole comeback. I actually shared clips with George saying, hey, look at this game I got. And he's like, you got to get that to me. So I'm trying to figure out how to get him a 22 gigabyte file. So if anyone out there knows how to transfer that, we'll figure it out. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and here's a USB drive. So exactly. So I got another one here for you. I got another game called The Misery Index. So this one's actually kind of interesting. What happens is that this game lists situations that people list as kind of awful to be in. Like this first situation I'm going to put you in is win the Powerball but lose the ticket. People rated it a 69. Right, so from a misery index, and the misery index is from 0 to 100.
Okay.
Where this one here accidentally light some dynamite and lose 3 fingers, they put it at an 81. Right.
Okay.
So now this next card here, where does this fit in the scale? Smell like a fart for the rest of your life.
Ooh, that's a big negative. That's because I don't think I would care. I think you get used to your own you get used to your own scent, but
You
like
do, yeah, you go numb for it. Your nose forgets it somehow.
yeah, but if I like, there's three things in this world that I crave, and I can share two of them with the listening audience. But one is once a year I have to go home and just breathe in like clean Wyoming air. That would
Okay,
ruin that. That would ruin that moment for me.
that's fair. Okay,
Get out of the car at the first gas station in Wyoming and just stretch and take
and
that
then
big
it's like,
breath in my
oh,
lungs.
I smell myself.
Right? Yeah, that would ruin that. And then my wife's attention. My wife, I just crave it more than anything in the entire world. And if there was anything else besides my personality impeding my ability to get her attention, I think that would be a huge issue. So that's a 95 for me.
Exactly. Interestingly enough, and this one we kind of played on the Sun Devils Summit. We were kind of confused by some of these scores. And again, I'm not exactly sure why some people scored it this way. They scored it a 77.5, right? So a 70. So there are 23 people out there that say that smelling like a fart for the rest of their life isn't that awful.
That's true.
That's very interesting. That is very
They
interesting.
probably already do.
And that's why they don't feel bad. They're like, okay. The other thing is that this is kind of something, and you and I probably know this about the name three game again in 5 seconds. In 5 seconds, name 3 ways to apologize to your wife.
Oh, clean. That's a
Clean's a big deal, yeah.
um, acts of service. Leave
only-
with leave with the kids. Like take them.
Okay.
She's kind of an introvert, so like leaving her with quiet, especially now.
Yeah.
I've been in the same room with 4 kids for 3 months and a week.
Yeah, it's no joke.
She likes that we live in Maricopa because she can drive that drive that everyone hates about living in Maricopa. She likes it. That's her downtime to
That
ramp
makes
up
sense.
and also to get ready to have 4 kids run and tackle her like the whole Calvin Hobbes situation when she walks through the door. So she hasn't had that in a really long time.
I actually kind of appreciate that because I remember when I would work in San Francisco, I'd always take BART in, and so it was a 51-hour minute ride. So it was actually give me a chance to just kind of listen to my music and disconnect from what happened during the day. So then, like you said, when the kids attacked you, you were not still burdened by the day. You were like, okay, I'm ready for this.
So clean space, and then probably like a back rub or something like that. Something.
Yeah, exactly. And that's again Highway 347. Again, Justin is calling it Fury Road.
Oh, 100% accurate.
If I had enough, if I could play the guitar, I would be that one dude on the whatever that is, that super rig, playing guitar and spewing fire out. So,
You know what's cool about the 347 though is when the horses are out. Man, there's nothing.
What do you mean? Are they just out? Are they? Do you see them on the side? Or are they just crossing over? Or
on the side too? I would shit myself if they were crossing the road. Like if I hit a horse, I would never forgive myself. No, they just hang out off the side of the road, and you see them probably 30-40% of the time.
Wow.
And it can make your day. You could be having like the shittiest
Oh, I
day,
bet.
and then see a band. It's called a band of horses, right? You could see a band of 100 horses, wild horses.
And and they're truly wild, right? They're not under anyone's ranch or anything else. They're truly wild.
Yeah.
That close to the metropolitan area. See, that's the brilliant thing about Phoenix, right? Is like I don't think a lot of people realize that you're surrounded by desert and all this other stuff, but you can really truly have literal wildlife just a short drive away, right? You're not in actual, pure Scottsdale downtown and it's all, all that. It's like you have wildlife a short ride away.
Have you, in all your time that you spent in Arizona, did you ever see a ringtail?
No, maybe I have, but anyway.
Last year I hiked South Mountain and they had like that museum thing there with all, and it was like, here's all the native animals to South Mountain. And one of them was a ringtail.
Okay.
And And it was like, yeah, no, these are like prevalent all over Arizona. And bullshit. Like I've never. They must be
They're
like not.
hiding well.
Yeah, I
See,
need to know.
that's
I need to know if anybody in the chat or has ever seen a ringtail in the wild in Arizona. Because
yeah. See, in the wild, that's the key.
forever.
Because down
Yeah.
in Tucson, right, there's the Desert Museum, right? So you can see all kinds of nonsense out there. But the thing is that for me, everything out that I saw was poisonous. So it was a spider, it was a scorpion, or it was a snake. All the even. Or it was deadly, like the javelina, right? So it was all that nonsense that could kill. Like Australia, it was something that could kill you. It wasn't something like, oh, that's pretty cool. No, it's going to come after me. It's going to come get me. So yes, but no, it's like, yeah, that's a question for the chat. Have you ever seen a ringtail? While we're waiting, I got another one here for you. Look at that. Paige has seen multiple ringtails on her hunts. So I guess you got to get pretty far out there. You email a nude selfie to the entire office is a 62. Or 70 is your job gets transferred to Somalia.
Well, if my job got transferred to Somalia, that means there's some good high school football in Somalia. So
yeah, exactly. Totally. Lots of raw talent. This one. A lawnmower mangles your foot. Where is that in relative to being transferred to Somalia or a nude selfie sent to everyone in the office? Well, I guess there's only one person in your office, I guess. You.
Yes. Well, let's say there's the other people with Arizona Varsity, I think that they would find that rather unpleasant. But at the same time, it's like that's your problem, not mine. Like
exactly.
You have to deal with looking at my naked body, and I'm so sorry, but like. I mean, how do you think I feel? I have to see it in the mirror sometimes. So, I guess
we're used to it, though.
It's still not the best situation.
That's why I kind of don't avert my eyes.
Yeah, the Somalia thing, I don't think I would mind. It'd be nice to meet some pirates.
Exactly. You would be running around, I am the captain.
Yes, but the lawnmower foot thing, first of all, top 5 moment in all of Mad Men.
Yes, okay.
But if I was to take off part of my foot with a lawnmower, it would be quite the story because I just bought a battery-powered lawnmower.
I remember you sharing that. It's all quiet.
It sounds like me. It is the most emasculating thing of my. So if I was to lose part of my foot to that thing, I would be upset at my foot for not being able to just stop the blade. Because my grass stops the blade, I have to restart.
No.
If I mow over too thick of grass.
Yeah.
It does not feel like when I was a kid. I used to love breaking a sweat, smelling the gasoline, and earning the lemonade.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely.
And
but it must have been a gas-powered beast, though, that you used to do when you were a kid.
Yes.
See, that's the thing, too, because I never knew that because my parents didn't have a lot of cash, so it was actually a push. So I had to do the push mower. Yeah, I'm like, oh,
that's still effort. There's still effort.
Well, thank God a lot of my parents' grass was dead, so I didn't have a lot to do. But yes, so lawnmower mangles a foot is actually an 85, so it's fairly high. So it's more than losing your job and transferring to Somalia. At least that's what this game says. So I'm going to get blank slate here. All of you guys out there in the chat, watch out. I'm going to go ahead and give Ralph 3 or 4 words that he's going to think about, and you're going to write down your answer. So.
This is the worst drink I've ever had.
I had to go ahead off screen and go ahead and pick one. So as a test, do not answer this one, but your first word is blank fight, right? So what you would have to do is think about a word that would go into blank fight, right? So whatever word goes in front of blank, right? So your answer that goes in front of blank fight, what would be what, Ralph? Bear fight. See, so then whoever matched that answer would gain some points, right? The other thing is, here's the other word. Deep blank. Okay, so what would be your answer there?
Deep shit.
I love it, right? So I think that's where some people would be answering it. So this next one is the actual first of everything, right? Twitter. So, all right. So the first one is blank service. Blank service. So I'm going to drop it in there. Blank service. Guess now. So again, you get to go ahead and think about blank service. I don't. It may be the beer that's talking. I'm not even thinking about what it might be. So blank service, whichever one you're thinking of. Blank service, not S, not plural. We got shit service, secret service. So Preston, you got to decide which one. Although I love both, I think shit service is best. But which one do you want? Shit service or secret service, Mr. Pressman? Which one? Full? No. You only get one guess. You got to go, Mr. Horse. So we need only one guess from all of you guys. Hopefully you're not influencing Ralph's, but again, I'm sure he already has it down. So blank service, Ralph. Which one do you? What is your word there? Blank service.
Room service.
Ah, look at that. Room service. How many people do we got? We got shit, secret fans, full, public. Look at that. 0 matches. That's okay. That's why we play the game. Play to win the game. Except for not this one. This is just a guess. So we had blank service. The next one. Next word. Shoe blank. Shoe blank. Shoe blank. Do you remember that comic strip Shoe back in the day? Do you ever see that?
I think so, yeah.
It was like this chicken or rooster or something, and that was always interesting. I never found it funny. It was always about Far Side. Far Side was where it was at.
What was your favorite Sunday comic?
You know what it was? It was a very specific one. It was Family Circus. The one with the map, though. Not necessarily the one, but it was the map that detailed through the house or through the yard. I absolutely adored Family Circus. That was the one on Sundays. And that was the thing, too, because Far Side was never on Sundays. It was always on Saturday for us. So I never got Far Side on Sundays.
My grandparents had like the collection of Far Sides, and so I go through like, oh, what's Jeffy up to today? I loved. I was a newspaper junkie, and so I would read through all the comics, and I never really liked. Beetle Bailey was kind of funny.
Andy Cap.
What was the blues one though, about the one that actually like followed the kids as they grew up, like they had 2 kids.
Interesting. I don't know that one. There was Wizard of Id. Those were all the same guys there.
Yeah.
Wizard of Id was another one. There was the Spider-Man.
Kind of funny, but I never worked in an office, so I didn't get most of what they were talking about.
Oh, Dilbert.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that was right in my wheelhouse. Being an IT guy, I'm like, yeah, that's where it's all real fun. Here you go. Fun fact: he's actually a local resident to my town.
Is he? I every once in a while I see people get super mad at him for being like a conservative or whatever.
Yeah, that's very interesting because in my town there's a lot of conservatives. He actually had a restaurant here for the longest time, but yeah, that was the other thing. So
Baby Blues. Yeah, somebody put it in the chat. Baby Blues.
Is that the answer?
That was a cool.
That's one. That's the comic you were talking about.
Yeah, like they had 2 that in that comic strip. They like had kids, and it progressed in real time.
Interesting.
So you would see, like every Sunday when you would read the comics, the kid would be a week older or whatever.
Oh wow!
I always loved how they do that. And then I was like, I laughed at every single one of those corny Kathy jokes. That was like chocolate, heck.
I never understood that one until after I got out of high school. It annoyed the living crap out of me, and until I dated. BC was great, but Kathy annoyed the hell out of me until I dated someone, and kind of like the humor clicked, and I'm like, okay, now I get it, right? But there was another mention in there, Bloom County. Bloom County was brilliant. I mean, Doonesbury, I never got. I mean, that was
I never got it either.
No, I don't know.
It was like watching Frasier when I was 9.
Yeah, it's like
any of this about.
Yeah, it was all that, and the Daily Spider-Man comic was brilliant. So that was always one. And then I tried my hardest one summer to follow Prince Valiant, and I just gave up. I was like, get out. What's your answer for? What is your answer? Did I give which one was it? Shoe blank. What was yours?
Shoe deal.
Shoe deal.
I'm a sports fan, man. Anytime you talk about shoes, I think money.
Look at that. Lace, lace, string, rack, horn,
Come on, guys.
Hotten. It's probably horn. I'm sorry, Mr. Randy.
Shoe string fries.
String fries, shoestring fries, lace, right? That's all good. So look at that. Come on, I got 0 people. I'm gonna have to concoct.
I'll do better. I'll think more.
You know that's okay. Okay, here we go. Junk blank.
Okay.
Junk blank. That's always a good one. Junk blank. But yeah, the Sunday comics were good, but then it was just, being able to, as I got older, actually I take that back. Once I made the newspaper, that's when I actually started reading it. It was actually kind of it wasn't because we won a game, it's actually because I bricked a game-winning 3-pointer. So that's why I made that's why I made the paper, but it was actually, at least I did. At least I made it. But it was actually, and then after that I started delivering the newspaper. So that's where my thing of the newspaper was at. But one thing I really got into was Wall Street Journal.
Okay.
Started reading that a lot. So actually that was one of the few things as I got out of college, I'm like, okay, this was the one thing that I really, really enjoyed. So that was, so junk blank, what are you thinking, Sir Ralph? What is your word?
Mail.
Look at that.
My name is Ralph, and so these companies think that I am 65 years old because that was a popular thing to name your kid in 1957. And I get mail every single day for hearing aids and discount crematoriums. I'm not kidding.
That is wicked.
Every single day I get AARP mail. I even tweeted about it one time, and the AARP freaking tweeted me back. And I get so much stuff from the AARP, from hearing aid places, and from crematorium. I get something about cremation once a week.
Wow.
Dead serious.
And it's just some random, just because, again, it's Ralph.
Because that makes them see, like, your name is Ralph, so you must be an old man.
They go ahead and they're, as I did earlier this week, there is some sort of crazy analytics that says this dude's old.
Yeah, if your name is Frank, or if you look up any of the top 10 baby names from like 1951 through 1959,
okay,
I'm sure they're all on some type of mailing list. Only reason my name's Ralph is because my dad's not creative. It was his dad's name and his dad too, so I'm the 4th.
You're the 4th. So are you truly? Is it your name actually, Ralph Amsden the 4th?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, got it. That's actually interesting because I have a very dear friend, mentor, and I absolutely love him. His name's Doland. And what happened, Doland, and it is their tradition that the first male grandson, that's his first name, is Doland. And so, I talked to him, and his, he has a grandson. His name is Doland, and they are just thick as thieves. I mean, they just bounce back for each other. He told me once, it's like, he was in preschool, and he was talking, and he gave an answer, and his teacher is, why are you so smart? And he's like, because my pop, his grandfather. So it was actually so I understand that. But so you are the 4th of his name, as it were.
Yeah, and our name is like, I had a professor at ASU explain this to me one time, because my dad is Northern Cheyenne. He's from the reservation in southeast Montana. And I was like, how the hell do you get the name Ralph if you're an Indian? And I had a professor at ASU was like, oh, those are basically slave names. Like the Catholic mission would come in and they'd line up all the kids, and then they just call them something other than what they were called. So our middle name is Emerson, and it was really common at the time to name somebody after a celebrity. And so so like Ralph in I don't know if you've ever seen those Looney Tunes cartoons where it's like Ralph and Sam and they're both wolves.
Of course.
Like that it's their job to like watch the sheep or whatever. They both check in, check out. So that's actually the name Ralph is it's a British origin. It means like a wolf.
Oh.
And my great grandfather was Northern Cheyenne and led the Northern Cheyenne Exodus. His name was Little Wolf, and that was passed down.
Okay.
And I think at some point some Catholic missionaries were like, all right, well, then you're going to be Ralph, and they would name you after celebrities of the time. My great grandfather got the name Ralph Emerson.
They dropped the Waldo part, but it's Ralph
Yeah, they
Waldo
dropped the
Emerson.
Waldo part, and then so now that got passed down like 4 different generations, and I'm Ralph Emerson Amsden the
Any
fourth.
of your kids? No, you have not passed that name down though.
My middle son has Emerson as a middle name.
Okay.
Um, all of our kids, all of our kids. My original thing was just like being a literature guy. Was I wanted to give them all different writers
Okay.
middle names. So like Wilfred Owen, the anti-war poet,
Okay.
is my son's name. Micah Owen, my oldest son, and then Jet Emerson. He took my
Ah.
middle
Okay.
Emerson, and then my youngest son, his name is Fisher, which was my grandmother's maiden name. My grandmother was my dad's like half Northern Cheyenne. His mother is full,
Okay.
and her maiden name was Fisher, and so we were going to give my my youngest son the name Fisher Lewis, so C.S. Lewis,
Ah.
uh,
Yes, of course.
and that was going to be his name. And then my cousin, who was like my best friend growing up, passed away 2 days before he was born. And so, very
You
emotional
shared.
to see my wife in labor at the time change my youngest son's name to Andrew after my cousin. So
Yes.
his name is Andrew Fisher, but no one has ever called him Andrew in his life. So we still call him
Interesting.
Fisher, but his
That's
first name
very
is
cool. You have shared that his your friend's memory as well. I think he passed away. You guys were fairly young.
Yeah, this was shoot, that was 2013. He was 2 years younger than me, and we grew up best friends. And he was, I remember there was an interview. I want to maybe it was with Gambo, maybe it was with Gambo, but it was Jake Plummer talking about his memories of Pat Tillman. And he
Mm-hmm.
said the most important thing that anybody can do if you want a piece of what it was like to know Pat Tillman is you have to find out who that is in your community or in your circle.
Oh,
And
interesting.
and uh, and so that made me think. I was like, who is that for me? And I was like, man, it's my cousin. My cousin's the most interesting dude I've ever met. He climbed peaks on 6 different continents. He was asked to play football at CSU, but he passed so that he could go study abroad in Patagonia.
Wow.
Um, like he's just this, and he was an artist. He was a troublemaker. He was a poet, and he was the most talented human being I've ever met in my entire life. And he got along with absolutely everybody. And he had that long blonde hair just like
Yeah.
Pat. And he was climbing in Gunnison, free climbing in Gunnison, and he fell. This was
No,
back in
it was a free
2013.
climb. Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. Took me a year of
Oh, I
like,
bet.
it was a rough year. But he passed a couple days before my son was born. So my wife, God bless her, she named her kid after him. And and so that was that was tough, man. But I always think about that Jake Plummer interview. I wish I knew. I think it was with Gambo down here, and how he just said, like, if you want to experience what it was like to be friends with Pat, you have to find that. You don't project your feelings or your beliefs
Of course.
onto Pat Tillman. You take up with whatever that is in your community. And I felt like I had that, just a truly
That's brilliant.
remarkable human being for a friend, and I miss him every day, man. He was a good dude.
That's actually outstanding. No, definitely find. I think that's actually quite the quote. Find the Pat Tillman in your life, right?
Yeah.
Because again, that's who really he was, and you've probably heard Kyle Murphy talk about him as well. As like he was just someone that was full of life and was just there in the moment all the time. So that was actually very. I love that. I think I may actually borrow that. I'm not exactly sure how, or if I'm gonna, but I think I'm gonna make it as soon as we sign off. So hopefully that everyone. Let me see. So we got Jeff Preston and Page. So we got another one here. This one's funny. Bear blank. BARE as in without. BARE. I'll actually hold it up close to camera 2 and then camera 1. Camera 2, camera 1. Bear blank. Get your guesses in there. There's always the easy one, right? But Bear Blank. Yeah, that's actually brilliant. Hopefully, that's again, obviously, he's one person that's the goal for me to interview is Jake Plummer. I'd absolutely love to
Yeah.
have him on the social club, but I'm going to shoot a little bit higher, and that was actually one of the things. I was actually on my bike ride, and 9 of my 11 miles, I was actually 2 miles away from home. So I'm going to. The goal is to interview Mark Hamill. I'm going to
Yeah.
figure out a way to interview Mark Hamill, and he's going to join the Zoom, and I'm probably going to cry for the first 15 minutes, and then get over myself, and then try to interview him. So I'm shooting high. I don't know when, and I don't know how, but it's going to be out there. It's going to be out there.
What's the origin of the whole Star Wars thing? Because I mean, you're a couple of years older than me, right? Like, was it just a matter of that being a big part of your childhood? Because I'm not a Star Wars
Okay.
fan.
Right.
I don't think it's. I just don't think it's fair. I know Star Wars fans. You're a Star Wars fan.
Right.
I would feel weird equating my Star Wars experience with yours.
Fair.
So I enjoy it. My kids are fans. My kids live and breathe, like they've watched every possible offshoot of anything
Right.
that they can find. They have conversations that I don't understand.
Right.
When they ask me my favorite character, I tell them it's the Pig Guard, and they get mad that I'm not calling it the
Gamorrean Guard.
Yeah.
The Gamorrean Guard. Yeah, that's how we do.
And then my favorite movie isn't even one of the 9. It's Rogue One, and so
that
like
still counts. But
that
still
frustrates them.
See, it still counts, and that's the interesting thing too, because I am the old. I was actually an original fan, so I was 5 years old when it came out, and not literally, but my head exploded. My parents are still down in Tucson, and they went and saw it to make sure it was okay for me to go see. So a week after opening, they took me to it was called the El Dorado, which was one of the largest theaters in town, and it was the 7 mm, massive projecting screens that you could go to. And I was just sitting there, and my mom was like, they couldn't move me. I just was so overwhelmed the entire time. And then when I walked out, it was just, my whole life was just absolutely changed, right? Just from not only from a movie perspective and storytelling perspective, but from a music perspective. John Williams has been a long time hero for and I actually met him once. He actually signed one of my Jurassic Park CDs, and so he was the reason why I started playing. John Williams was the reason I started playing an instrument, right? George Lucas was the reason I pursued an engineering degree, right? I didn't want to be a movie maker. I played saxophone in elementary school, and then I moved to baritone sax in junior high, and then I played drums for one semester because there were too many saxophones. And then come concert season, my band director, who is a dear friend and involved with a lot of them, he came to my wedding. He said, I don't need any saxophone players, but I have this brand new bass trombone that no one's playing. You want to do that? So I played trombone for 4 years after that. So
Nice.
My freshman year and so forth. And Matt marched with that and made state and everything else. So fortunately, Padawan 1 sings a lot, but Padawan 2 and 3 are band geeks. So Padawan 3 plays the trombone, Padawan 2 plays trumpet. So it's actually always interesting to kind of share those experiences with them, but also talk music with all 3 of them. And so, but it definitely, Star Wars put me on, just not only am I a fanatic, but it also put me on a path on a lot of things in which, I am beyond, the Twitter handle, right? It's definitely something else. And I agree with you. Rogue One and Empire Strikes Back are probably my top 2. And just because Empire Strikes Back, I saw when it first came out, I kind of don't want to dethrone it as my number 1 movie, but Rogue One was absolutely brilliant. I can't even tell you how amazing that movie was. So And I'm a fan of Solo. I may actually get some shit for that, but I don't care.
It's all fun to me. But that's
That's
the
all it
nice
is.
thing is it. I just you have people that are so invested in it that
Yeah.
they've sort of idealized what it should be, and I feel bad that they can't enjoy the entertainment aspect of it. So in that way, I'm glad that I never like locked into it that
Right.
much. But then again, that's the way that I feel about some of these superhero movies. And when
Oh,
they
okay.
screw something up, I get upset, and I can't. I can't. What am I supposed to do when they make Topher Grace Venom? So
Exactly.
Weenie
That's
from
who it
that
was.
'70s show is supposed to be the baddest dude of all time. Like, come on.
Yeah, I know. That's my whole thing too. It's like, you know what? It's a movie, and it's like, it's not. What is it? It's not gospel yet. We haven't been. It
Yeah.
hasn't been. We haven't been dead long enough, and it hasn't been a long enough time for it to be
Right.
gospel yet. Right. So, Bear Blank. What was your answer, my man? Bear Blank.
Gotta go with Foot.
Barefoot. Nice. Let's see. Justin got that one, and then Junkyard Dog Bear. Well, I got Paul and Gina saying food. Again, it's bare.
Barefoot.
Maybe they meant barefoot instead
Food.
of barefoot. So I'm hopefully, given all that, I believe no one's won yet. So that's that's actually
Hey,
pretty funny.
strong recommendation against Di Serrano mixed with Galliano.
Hopefully,
Just
you
drink.
have something different to drink.
Yeah, we got the screwball, but I don't know if I should put it in this. I don't know if anything should ever go in this cup again.
Yeah, I think you know what it is. Everyone, hopefully, do you have about 10 more minutes? Can I bug you for 10
Yeah.
more minutes?
We're good. Yeah.
So what I would like to do is, you know what it is. If you go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and transition to an announcement. If you want to take a bio break, because I definitely want to do that too. Everyone, go refill your drink. Everyone, go take a bio break. But remember, if you're looking at the screen, there is a Sun Devil Summit coming up on Friday, July 10th. Make sure you go ahead and shoot me an email, jediasu@gmail.com, or DM me on Twitter. I am going to step away for a quick moment. I suggest you do the same, and then we get to go ahead and keep asking Ralph a couple more questions, before we go ahead and continue on into the weekend. So be right back.
We got 10 minutes left on this. Okay.
Ta-da. Woo. So let me see the chat here. So there may be some things in here that I think someone had something in here. Let me look. Paige, actually, had a fantastic question, and this is something similar to what I've been curious about as well. Quality of players in AZ schools compared to the rest of the country, right? Is that a volume thing, or is it definitely something that there is an actual difference in quality? What do you think, my man?
Well, much like our COVID cases, the talent in Arizona is rapidly rising. We're there's a top tier that is Texas, California, and Florida. That's unquestionable. In the second tier, you have states like Ohio and Virginia and Georgia. And honestly, Georgia probably belongs in the second tier all by itself. Georgia's an absolute powerhouse right now when
Okay.
it comes to producing talent. And then I think you'd have like a third tier, and Arizona would be at the very top of that. It's been a rapid ascent. 20 different schools have quarterbacks from Arizona.
20. That is an unreal amount. I never would have realized that. 20 schools have a QB from Arizona. Obviously,
Yeah.
Iowa State, right? With Chubb. Is it Iowa State? That's where Chuba went? Yeah.
Purdue starter Jack Plummer, his brother Will Plummer is headed to Arizona. Spencer Rattler is out at Oklahoma and should be the starter this year. Cal is going to have two guys from Arizona from the same high school. Washington State has an Arizona quarterback. USC, obviously, with Keaton Slovis, you saw him throw for like 400 yards in the first quarter against ASU.
Yeah, that was a ridiculous ass performance that I got to witness firsthand. You had just injured yourself when we were talking that after that game, so.
Did I? What did I do that time?
I think it was your ankle or something. Remember, I saw you when you were kind of gimping all the way up to the press box. I saw you down near the field after the presser in the. I
don't know. I'm always beat up in some.
But yeah, I got to witness that and he didn't do jack after the first quarter. I mean, I guess the defense woke up.
That was a great, incredible adjustment by ASU, but the damage was already done.
Yeah, exactly. That was unreal. But yes, but you.
This is some Bailey's.
Good. Yes, that's something with some. At least it's sweet. Thank God.
Yeah, and this goes out to Joey Yellen. Good luck at Pitt.
I am a big fan of his. I was hella upset that he left because I was a huge fan of his. But I guess, again, given all the conversation around Jaden Daniels, it's like I guess that's the only thing that they were able to do. But God bless him, in his future. But yes, go ahead.
I think if he doesn't prove himself against USC, he probably doesn't leave. So
you mean if he won?
No, I mean if he didn't play. So if Jaden Daniels played in that game and Joey Yellen didn't find out that he could do this at a high level, then he might.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
But when Joey Yellen found out that he could do it at a high level, I think that
he was like, "Yep, I can do this someplace else."
I wish it was anywhere but Pitt, but I'm gonna ride or die for that dude.
That's okay. I mean, they all got to kiss your ass now.
I did it with Jake Plummer and the Broncos. Like I hate the Broncos so much, and I swallowed my pride and I rooted my ass off for them for 3.5 years until they prematurely made Jay Cutler the guy. And I'm going to do the same thing at Pitt with Joey Yellen. So,
hey, real quick question. I think Justin for ASU, Justin Prestegard out in Florida, has to sign out for the evening. But he had one question. His question is, who's the most memorable prep interview or profile you've had and why?
It's KJ Jarrell, but not for the reason that because so many of these kids have such awesome stories. But I convinced KJ Jarrell to let me break his commitment story, and this was back.
Oh.
This was way back. Hode does those like in my own words articles.
Yes.
So I used to do those, and then I would do my commitment stories, and the kids would actually write their commitment stories.
Right.
And KJ Jarrell's mom proofread it, and I had to go through with his mom. It took him probably it took me and him probably 45 minutes to get it down, and then 3 hours on the phone with his mom proofreading every word to make sure that it was good to go. And
yeah.
It was a pretty exhausting exercise, But at the same time, like I loved that she was all about it and that she was involved
Good.
in that. I always thought that that was the cool. So that's the most memorable one for me, just because of just the amount of time that went into making sure that it was perfect. But there's so many. There's so many. I'll tell you what, that Bajan Robinson kid out of Tucson South Point that's going to the University of Texas,
Oh
that's a
yeah.
special being. And he's somebody that, I'm 36 years old and I'm interviewing a 17-year-old, and I feel like he's making me a better person. Just in
Interesting.
listening to the way that he talks about the people around him. His
Right.
teammate, Nathan Ransom, who is Ohio State, I think he's going to, was the
Okay.
same exact way. Just super upstanding, incredible, mature kids who
Wow.
did everything they could to make sure the people around them got all the glory. Um, I don't know, man. These kids are a different breed. They just Nikhil was on another level. Nikhil Harry. Um,
Right on.
when I say that I love like I love Nikhil like family.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
How long
Um,
have you known him? How what year did you
Since
start?
his sophomore year at Marcos Deniza, I ran
15,
into him
16
at
years old then.
yeah, I ran into him at
Wow.
Filiberto's. It was
Ah,
Friday night. Chili and I went to Filiberto's, and we ran into these kids from Marcos Deniza, and they were like, "Hey, you gotta interview our friend over there at the table. He's the real deal." And
Marcos is where? Is that on rural or where? No, that's Coronado on rural. Where's Marcos?
no. I think you're right. I think Marcos is on like rural and southern, not
Okay.
southern,
Further
baseline.
south, like Elliott or something like that.
I think it's like baseline
Maybe
and rural.
Ray? Anyway.
Baseline and rural, I think.
Okay.
My nanny went there. That's how I remember. Old nanny, and so he was sitting at the table, and we walked up and introduced ourselves, and he was just so soft spoken and polite, and we were like, "So you're the guy, right?" And he's like, "Well, I guess if they say so." And I'm like, "All right, well, we'll look out for you." And then he transferred to Chandler before his junior year. And I remember traveling with to Colorado to watch Chandler High play Valor Christian, and just he was special, man. And to see like what he came from,
Yeah.
and
He does have quite the journey.
I don't know, man. I'm gonna get choked up just talking about how I people in my job say to these kids all the time, like, "Hey, remember me when you make it," right? Like,
Of course. They're banking on the long ball.
yeah, what I told Nikhil was like, I hope you get so big that you have no idea who I am. I hope that everyone knows his name. I hope that everybody gets a chance to know his story. I hope that he can find a way to be so successful that, yeah, that he has an impact on as many people as possible, because his story is ridiculous. His heart is just the size of an elephant, and what a treat! Like I hope ASU fans know how lucky they were to have him
Absolutely.
around. Yeah,
Especially for 3 years. And I think that's the other thing is that it's like he was someone that you wanted for 4 years, right? Even though you knew you wouldn't get him for 4 years, he was just
yeah,
from a talent perspective, but also every time you heard him, he was interviewed or he was featured on some of the games, right? You always saw, how not necessarily not so spoken, but just again how humble he truly is, and but also how hard he works, and it's just definitely
yeah,
it's attractive. It attracts you. You want to be
yeah.
part of it and know it and be a part of it even more.
And behind the scenes, he struggled. Like he he just didn't have the people in position in his life to make sure that he was always ready to take criticism and listen and be
Hmm.
there on time. And so like Todd Graham and that staff, and Jay Norvell especially, and Jack Smith, when Jack Smith was on that team
Okay.
his freshman year, just Nikhil had a lot of people around him to make sure that like when his circumstances were going to govern his actions to his own detriment, that they were there to give him encouragement and grace.
Interesting.
So he wasn't a saint, but none of us are, right? Like,
No, and there's many great players in Bass that aren't,
yeah.
right, for
And so
whatever reason.
yeah, when I think about Nikhil Harry, I just think about like the situation I've come from, and I know like all of my hangups and all of my weirdness. Some of it's
Yeah,
inevitable,
of course.
um, and I think the same is true for him. And there just could not have been a better environment for Nikhil Harry than Arizona State at that point in time. And
Right.
man, I hope he does. I hope he makes Jared Stidham a Pro Bowl quarterback. I really do.
That's
He's just
coming
such
up. That's the potential next season that we're talking about, right?
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think again, I think that's definitely one of the players that obviously I think Sun Devils Nation always pulls for someone that gets drafted, right? But I think that's definitely someone that's already there to be able to do that. And I think the next one, is Brandon Ayuk, right? I think everyone. I mean, it's just it's always amazing to see some of these guys go, and then all of a sudden it just the world recognizes the secret that all of us have always known, right? And
Yeah.
I love seeing that as well. So he was who was Niners, so he's back to the Bay Area as I understand it.
Yeah. Yeah.
He may be the reason I start
I'll
watching
root for him
NFL and the Niners again.
14 games a year. I'll root for Brandon Ayuk. I hope Patrick Peterson shuts him down.
Exactly. What is the one NFL team other than is it Denver? That's the one team you won't root for?
Yeah, because I'm one of those contrarians. Like I'm from Wyoming, and everyone there's a Broncos fan,
Mm.
and so I just wanted to go against the grain.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the one.
and I always thought Broncos fans were ridiculous people. Like I tell this story, and I'm not. It's reached the point where I'm not even 100% sure if it's true. But I remember living in Wyoming during the Iraq and Afghanistan ongoing military actions. And there was like, I want to say it was like a day that was one of the deadliest days of fighting in the overseas conflict.
Okay.
And that was like page 3 of the Denver Post. And on page 1 was John Elway lost his dog.
No way.
The way that they worship, and again, it's reached the point where I don't even know if that story's true anymore. But I felt like it was at the time.
We'll call it for now.
I just the way that community just like was just this worshipped John Elway. It was
Deification. I mean, absolutely, and it's interesting. Yeah, absolutely. And it was
so
actually quite the big deal. Were you covering ASU when his son started playing?
No, but I was at ASU. I was attending.
Were you? Okay, got it.
Yeah, Jack.
That's always an interesting story to hear about too, right? Living up to the reputation of a Hall of Fame dad.
Yeah, that's
I can
tough.
only imagine, man.
My cousin that we were talking about earlier, he played high school football in Colorado, and so he was, he told me that it wasn't, he wasn't as good as the ASU made that happen.
It was the name. I got you.
Yeah, and Jack was never super all about football. He wanted to take it as far as he wanted to take it, and that's not
That's fair.
Him. But yeah, no, I hated the Broncos, and then when Jake went there and broke John Elway's single season passing touchdown record, I was like,
You're dancing around celebrating.
Yeah. And he had a lot of success there, and I was always super mad at the Cardinals for not putting more talent around him. And so it was cool to see him prove the Cardinals wrong.
Yeah.
Because I on the other side of the computer, on the wall, I've got a framed picture of the 1998 Arizona Cardinals, which is like my all-time favorite.
Oh, okay, right on.
And I'm looking at the row with Pat Tillman next to Kwame Lassiter. Rest in peace, both of them. But Aeneas Williams and Lomas Brown and Larry
Wow.
Sears, that team, they have 3 Hall of Famers. They just and Jake Plummer and God, I love that team so much. Eric Swan and
Exactly.
Simeon Rice.
That was 98, so that is right when I left. That season is when I moved away from Arizona. Okay. It was at September 98. It was right after summer semester. Moved away looking for gold. I may still be looking for gold, but still blessed to be here. So I
Yeah, I
remember that.
saw some people got upset when I shit all over California a couple weeks back, and it was
In what
I
way?
didn't.
What
Uh,
was it?
something about like the someone asked what the best state in the United States was, and I said, well, the people. It
We
would be
talked about this
California.
one. Yes.
The people.
I remember this.
I just want like and some people got upset, and I just want people to know like I'm from Wyoming. I get claustrophobic looking at pictures of other people,
Right.
at pictures of groups of people. So you know that feeling that you get when you see a photo of people out and about not wearing a mask? Like it's very unique to 2020.
Yes.
You see a group of people, they're not wearing a mask, and inside you, you're like, oh shit, we're screwed.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, like that's the feeling I get when I see any group of any people anywhere
Bodies.
doing anything. I get anxious because they're Wyoming is the ninth biggest state in the country.
Square
And there's
footage. Or,
square footage,
yeah.
for miles, I guess.
Air, whatever the hell they meant.
Yeah. Uh, and there's 5 people per square mile. 5.
Oh, got it. Okay.
My hometown has 16,000 people.
Wow. Okay.
And so I just my wife is from Pittsburgh. She has tried to get me to go to New York for our entire marriage, and I can't. Just the amount of people, it makes me so anxious. And so
Interesting.
when I was referring to the people in California, I wasn't saying the people are bad people. I was just saying there's people. And
It's density.
Yeah, it was a reference to the amount of humans. It has when I think of California, my first thought is 39 million human beings.
Right.
And I've been to a city in California that reminds me very much of where I'm from.
Okay.
Susanville.
Okay. Yeah. So absolutely out in the mountains and everything else.
Yeah, Susanville
Absolutely.
is Sheridan, Wyoming. It's
Right.
This is my. It's not a Make America Great
Oh,
Again
that's
hat.
cool. Absolutely.
Sheridan
Dude,
Heroes
you must get some
Wyoming.
shit. Oh, I bet you people kind
I
of
can't
wind
wear
up
this.
when they
This is
see
my
that.
favorite hat, and people give me the dirtiest looks. I get a lot of thumbs up from random dudes in F-150s though. People see this hat, and they're like, "Hell yeah, brother!"
Yeah, we know who you are. It's like, no.
Heroes.
And that's actually very interesting, right? Given, where you've grown up, how you've been raised and what you're used to, right? It's like there absolutely are spots like that are definitely like Laramie, Wyoming, especially if you go north, like towards the Oregon border, right? There's very secluded small towns and everything else that are very remote. But, if you ask anyone on the planet, when you say California, it's San Francisco or LA where the people are like
Yeah.
this. Absolutely. And again, I think that's kind of what we were talking about, right? When you replied, it's not about because I absolutely, you hate the state for politics or whatever else in the wide world of sports. Is like there's too many of you.
Yeah, it's the first time I ever sat in traffic in the Inland Empire, trying to drive home and making a 6-hour drive or 11-hour drive.
Yeah.
There's nothing that has ever frustrated me more. I get this. Do you ever get when you're in traffic and you look around at other people and you're like, who are you? Where are you going?
You know what my thing is? This is my answer. Actually, this is my question, and actually it's from Caddyshack. It's don't you have homes?
Yeah.
It's like, go what the heck? But I mean, obviously they're trying to get home, but it's like, don't you have homes, right? And but anyway, yeah, I feel you. I feel that all the time. That's why I'm glad I work from home, because now I've been working from home for 6 years now. I don't have to drive anywhere. I don't even have to. So this is actually so there was a time, and again, I think I blame this on my medication, but anyway, I was on not a blood pressure medication, is a cholesterol medication called atorvastatin. And I don't know whoever's on it or anything else, but I was taking it for probably a year and a half or so. And I took it, and at one point in time, I would get so angry when I would be driving. I mean, it was so uncharacteristic for me to be so angry. And it wasn't like I would road rage and think to get out of the car and beat someone up. I would just be so in my brain to be able to just, fuming at someone, that it was so different. And so I actually saw a article where someone else in the UK actually had the same behavior change where he was like, he was threatening his family in the car while he was driving. So I stopped it, and I'm completely different now. So now I actually, yeah. So I mean, but like you said, to the point where I'm like, California is traffic. Californians are traffic.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how you deal with it. And
Yeah.
and now, I've kind of, I hated stoplights. God, did I hate stoplights. And it was so, I would just be so fuming. But I've been in this class recently, and so now I actually kind of, and again, this may not make a lot of sense to a lot of people, but I see it as, as a universal love note. It gives me the opportunity to stop, kind of rest, be grateful for what I have. Just take that moment instead of like, I got to get someplace, I got to go, everyone's in my way, blah. So
Right.
that's living in California, but that's where I
Yeah.
kind of flipping that as well. So
But I would,
Anyway.
but just for what it offers, I think California is the best. California is the best. I'd put Arizona up there with anything, and then Utah, as much as it pains me to say because those people don't like me very much, but Utah is something else. And then I'm from Wyoming and Montana, but I don't like to tell anybody about Wyoming and Montana. I don't need any more people.
yeah, I mean, it's like I've always had a good time in Utah. I was actually sent on a gig to Salt Lake. I actually did a gig at the University of Utah Medical Center. So I was actually doing a job on campus for the medical center there, and I had a brilliant time. I absolutely loved it there. It's just as soon as I got online, now I'm like, damn, do I want to go? So, but every time I go back to Utah, I absolutely love it. It's just,
Salt
as
Lake
long
is the perfect city for people who have low expectations of what Salt Lake has to offer. Like, they've got incredible Mexican food. They got a decent nightlife. They've got a good music scene.
yeah, they
They've
do.
got a soccer team that they absolutely adore.
They go crazy over that place. Yeah.
They got a basketball team that I hate that they absolutely adore. They love University of Utah. The Wasatch Mountains are incredible. Park City's ridiculous. The northeast corner of the state, Garden City, where all the raspberries grow.
Oh wow.
I go there every single year. I mean, it could be a really incredible place. The people get on my nerves sometimes, but like I get on people's nerves, so it's
Absolutely. No, I absolutely love visiting Utah. I love going up there, and I agree. I think there's a lot of would I live there? There's a lot of technology companies up there, but would I live there?
I've noticed a lot moving in.
There is. I mean, Adobe moved in. I mean, there's a huge companies out there, but I'm like, I can't live there. I cannot live there. Given, I guess that's just me. But I don't know who. Let's see. We got 11 viewers, so I got a couple. Let me see here. Oh, here's it. If you had to, I got a question for you. Real quick one. I'm not exactly sure which one to read because they're both pretty awesome. This one's for, well, I don't know if the kids want to hear this one, but question number 105. If you had to be a sex slave for Jabba the Hutt, or 2, hold the record for the biggest boobs in the world, which one would you rather?
I mean, both of them involve not really going anywhere.
Which is okay in this time,
Um,
day and age.
I'm cool to just lay on my back and let them flop and watch television.
That's the
So-
interesting thing too, because can Jabba do the nasty? I don't think he can.
Yeah, I'm not trying to
Personally.
get violated by a giant worm. So, huge titties. Here, here.
Excellent, excellent. This one is actually interesting too. Number 1, all of your meals are fed to you as if you are a baby bird. Or 2, similar. You can talk to animals, but they all hate you.
Okay, so Twitter.
Oh well, there we are.
Yeah. I will talk to animals and they will all hate me. I feel like I give them that respect anyway. The most frustrated that I ever get, believe it or not, is when people go to Yellowstone and get too close to a buffalo or an elk or a
Oh
moose.
my God, that must be entertaining as hell.
Yeah, but it pisses me off. It's like, how can you not know? Like after all this time, how can you not know? And so um, I'm fine to give them their distance and their space. But I've gotten kind of into gardening lately, and I've built like a huge shade structure along the side of my house so that I
I
can
love
grow.
that, by the way. You shared pictures, and that's brilliant.
And I could see just like a rabbit coming in, eating the stuff I'm trying to grow, and then talking shit to me about it. And I'm for it. I'll take that one.
I have this brilliant blackberry bush that Mrs. Jedi brought from the school. So she works at my kids' elementary when they went to element, and then they have a garden, and there was a blackberry bush that took up probably 10 feet of the. It just covered 10 feet of the fence in the back of the school, and so the teacher that managed it just kind of ripped up a whole section and said, "Here, go plant it in your backyard." And I swear to you, Ralph, I probably have 250, 300 blackberries just growing and ready to turn from this one little bud. I mean, it's like my Mrs. Jedi, as you just keep saying, she calls it a weed, and it just keeps growing. So I'm like, okay, maybe I need to get more fence so this way I can keep growing more and harvest the hell out of them. So
Have you ever had huckleberries?
no, I haven't.
I'm gonna hook you up. I'm gonna send you something from. I leave for Wyoming in about 4 days, and we're gonna be in Montana too, and it's huckleberry season, and I'm gonna send you some. It's
Please do.
they make everything from it, and you can only really get it in the Idaho, Washington, Montana area. But like their jellies, taffy, all of it, and it's just this
Oh, that sounds so
incredible
amazing.
taste that we don't have here in Arizona. So I spend all year craving it, and then every summer when I go up there, oh, huckleberry taffy, yes, huckleberry syrup. Oh, it's just, and it's kind of like blackberry, but just a little bit. It's like blackberry and raspberry had a baby, and
Wow, that's brilliant. I mean, it's just my only familiarity with Huckleberry is Doc Holliday in the movie Tombstone. So that's why I'm excited for you to educate me. So that's actually going to be good. So I love it. No, I'm very very excited for that one. One of the things that I had a question for you. Are we going to have sports this year? What do you think, man? Given all this, so I'm going to go ahead and I know you're thinking about it. Well, I want to give you. I let go of the season probably in March. I was like as passionate as I am about it, as much as of a hobby and as much as I talk about it and much as I absolutely adore the season, I actually kind of let go of college football and kind of everything else back in March. Given everything that I'm looking, and obviously given all my tweets, I'm up the skirt a little bit more than maybe some others should be. But I mean, given what you're seeing in Arizona, the way you're talking with everyone, what do you think? I'm not going to hold you to this, even though I'm recording it.
I hope so. But
Yeah.
I just, we're not behaving. You got kids. I got 4 kids. Like,
And you have one with concerns. You got to be even more sensitive,
yeah,
given
I
your
could, and
youngest.
and then again, she might be stronger than all of us,
Okay.
because if she beat that, maybe it's the opposite of what. So I've been overly cautious with her
Fair.
because a virus almost killed her, and she had to be on an ECMO machine, and we're short ECMO machines now because of what's going on, and it kills
Right.
me to think that if a parent is in my shoes and needs one, that their kid's
Oh, I
gonna
can
die.
imagine. Yeah, you were in that
It'll-
same
yeah,
situation.
and that I think about that all day, every day, and I think about the time that I spent with her when she was on life support, and I mean the worst day of my life was doctors coming in and telling me like, you know, it's time to say goodbye, right?
Right. I remember that. I mean, it's just like, and I always share your photos with Mrs. Jedi. She just, your daughter makes my wife smile. So I'm glad you're able to share that. But go ahead.
Oh, and I should, I mean, maybe people need more of that because she's such a cool little person, and the best thing about my entire life is every morning I wake up and if she hasn't already snuck into our room to crawl into bed, she'll walk into our room and the first thing I like when I see her for the first time every morning, I'm overwhelmed because
Yeah.
I shouldn't be here, right? And so like to start every single day with that level of just like I want it's not humility, but of like it kind of is like you're humbled by the fact that like she's just this gift, right? And
Absolutely.
she's smart and she's athletic. When we thought we were going to have a kid who was going to have all sorts of different challenges,
Of
and
course. Yeah, that makes sense.
she's just objectively such an incredible little person. Um, but we've played it close to the vest this entire time because we know what we went through last time and we don't know what she can handle. At the same time, it would be
Right.
logical to believe that like if she handled that, maybe she's invincible, right? But
Right.
we keep chancing. So
Of
you know
course.
we've been hanging out at home and I know what the cost is. And my best friend is a 73-year-old Vietnam veteran with 30% lung capacity who was living in Casa Grande up until recently. I just helped him move to Castle Rock
Right.
right before this whole thing went down. Um, and if this gets him, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to go on, right?
Oh, I can only imagine. I mean, you see how Lena Washington, right? She's going through that right now, right? She
Yeah,
just lost her dad, right?
right.
And so,
Who
you know,
should, and that's just it. So many people are writing these people off as numbers and statistics or people
yeah,
who are old or who had comorbidities, but they're fucking people, man.
absolutely.
They're people who should still be here.
Yes.
You know, I saw a question earlier in the chat of like, am I going to share any of these stats with my staff because I withhold all of the numbers? And there is a stat. I share one stat with my staff, and it's the time, the amount of minutes, total minutes that somebody spends on our site,
Oh,
combined
okay.
with everybody else, because I want them to know that like those are minutes that they could have been doing anything else.
Absolutely.
All we have is time. That's it. The fact that you wanted me to be here to spend a couple hours with you on a Friday night and that I would willingly give that to you, like,
Yes.
that's love, man. I love you. You love me. Like, that's what that is.
100%.
And the fact that there's even people watching this right now or that are going to watch that later, their time, the only currency that really matters on this earth, that's what they have. They're
Absolutely.
spending that time with us. It's amazing. And so to see the way that people are reacting to the fact that we have people in this world who are losing time, who should still be here,
Yes.
and to know that it's being written off as, well, the flu kills people as well. There's still a flu. I mean, or you know, this is just how diseases work. Or if you can't afford to be out, you know, stay
Right.
home. If you're vulnerable, stay home. Man, these are people, and I don't care if they're people that I don't like. I don't care if they're people that made a
Absolutely.
bunch of mistakes in their life. Like, we're all we've got. That's it. That's it for us. Is us.
Yes. Each other
Otherwise,
and that time together.
right. And so, you know, if it takes sacrificing sports to make sure that there are people who get to stick around,
That
I
should
will
be
make
here
that
with us.
sacrifice. And
Absolutely.
there are people who are saying like, "Oh, the media doesn't want." Like, of course I want. You know, I'm dying without basketball. I'm
Of
dying
course.
without
I can only that and you've shared that is your game. Right? I understand your why, but that is your
it,
game.
it's the only thing that brings me catharsis because everything else is business. Basketball is the only thing that I can write about where I still feel like I enjoyed it. You
Okay.
know?
As a fan.
Yeah, as a fan,
Right.
because we chose this life and it becomes work. It
Right.
becomes, it is not, you know, you ever see that Ben Shapiro clip of like, this is not a place of comfort for me anymore, so I'm gonna have to surrender.
Yeah.
When you work in this business, it's not really a place of comfort for you.
Right.
It's like being a chef at a restaurant, like, you know, or, you know, you work in a Mexican restaurant. People are like, oh, don't you love tacos? Like, well, I mean, yeah, but like my job is making tacos. Let's go
I
get
see
fried
1,000 a day.
chicken. Yeah. Basketball to me is my one safe space. It's like a magic show, right? Like I feel like I'm watching David Copperfield. These people fly through the air,
You still appreciate, yeah.
passes the athleticism, and it's been the one place in my life where I've been able to alleviate stress,
Right.
and I don't have anything, not a single thing to do
Exactly.
that right now. And I know that a lot of sports fans feel that same way. I would give up so much to be able to watch basketball, and I can't
Of
do it.
course.
But I would trade that relief for a stranger's grandmother.
100%. Absolutely.
And
Because
what
I mean,
want to know is why won't you? You know?
Yeah, and I think that's exactly it, right? Sports is an escape. Sports is an entertainment. Sports is exactly that, but sports isn't life. I mean, I understand that there's T-shirts and everything else to that end, but it doesn't replace the life of someone out there that you love.
Right. Right. That loss, Alina Washington, there's no reason her dad couldn't have been 82, 83, you know? And she's going to do big things.
She has a hell of a platform, absolutely.
Yeah, watching her plant her feet and watching her passion sort of drive her, you know, I'm proud of her. I don't
Yes.
her as much, but I hate that this is the cost.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Exactly.
You know?
The catalyst.
People that have learned her name in the last 3 days didn't know it, and I know she wishes that too.
Of course, yeah. You want to be a catalyst, but you don't want to have to be it at the expense of someone's life.
Right. And so we control whether or not we're going to have sports. And it's up to us whether or not we're going to view simple acts of personal sacrifice as tyranny.
Right.
If we're going to look at inconvenience as oppression, because it's not. It's just inconvenience.
Exactly. It's interesting because I was kind of looking through that. So there's the Epidemic podcast, and I've tweeted them a few times the past few days, but they had one today, right, where they were actually there was a medical historian from University of Michigan was talking about that, right? Back in 1918, yes, there was still people out there that were fighting it as oppression, that were impinging in their rights, but after a while, it was to the point where it was denoted as this is your American duty to protect your own man, your fellow American, I should say, and you need to be able to do that, right? And that's when everyone kind of unified that, and that obviously that hasn't happened yet. But again, to your point, unfortunately, there's got to be a crap ton of people that die in order for us to get there, which we can completely avoid it.
Level of sacrifice too, like this mask thing. First of all, masks look cool as hell.
If you get the right one, hell yeah. I got mine for back. I absolutely love to wear my mask.
If I get to walk around looking like Sub-Zero or Scorpion, it's a childhood dream come true.
Actually, I think that's what my mask looks like, so that's why I dig it.
Somebody tweeted me today, a dad of a former high school football player in the Southeast Valley, and his mask was like a Baby Yoda one. And I was like, damn, that's awesome. My mask is blue cloth and is not this cool. I wish I had a cooler mask. Like, it's not even a thing, right?
It's
all
not.
These people are like, I'm breathing my own carbon dioxide and it's bad for you. Like, shut up. I grew up painting houses with my dad. We wore a mask all day, every single day,
Absolutely.
to avoid breathing the kills into our brain. It's called kills because of what it does to your brain cells.
Wow.
And it was fine. It was always fine.
You're still okay.
Actually have an issue. And then again, these people are the same people who say if you have an issue, stay home. So if you have an issue with putting on a cloth mask, then take your own goddamn advice and stay
home. Stay the hell home. We don't need to see you.
I don't care if you are the most militantly anti-Democrat again, I don't know how any of this stuff is political, but it's become that way. I don't care if you are I don't care if you're Rudy Carpenter. I don't want you to experience any pain or any unnecessary misery as a result of a germ. You don't deserve it.
Exactly. Absolutely. It was interesting too, because like you're saying it, because that's beginning to be the common view that it affects the old people, right? and it affects a particular age group and everything else. But HIV, right, is a, as I understand it, I believe it's a type of virus. Right now,
It's a
it is.
virus.
It's a virus as well. Right now, we are both heterosexual, right? But we're not. But again, there are things like people are taking precautions against catching it, right? There is no cure for AIDS. There is no vaccine. There is no herd immunity, but everyone is still being mindful, right? I think Magic Johnson's HIV positive still, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the other thing too. That was the other thing that one brought awareness to the virus as well, but also to be able to say, look, it's not just, I think if I remember correctly in the 80s, it's not just a gay disease. It's not just for the gay community. It's not. It can impact everyone, and everyone has to be mindful of taking care of it. Just because you're not involved and you may not be the one engaging in activities or whatever else, you're still being mindful, right? Regardless of what stage of life you're in, right? So I think that's where the COVID-19 is coming into play, right? Is that, you know what, everyone has forgotten what you need to do as a human being. And I think it's going to take a lot, unfortunately. I think there's still a little bit more that's going to take for everyone to kind of get there, unfortunately. So,
And that's just it. Like, there's a carrot. If the stick is not motivation enough for you, if and the stick being like someone in your family or you gets super sick and potentially dies for no reason,
right.
the carrot is life as it was.
Yes.
All I can think about, all I crave all day, every day, from the moment I wake up in the morning until I go to bed at night, I want to go to a movie. That's it.
Oh, interesting.
I want to go to a movie theater, and this is how I keep my mind straight.
Okay.
Once every 3 weeks, I go to a movie by myself. I go to it's the 10:30 show out here at Maricopa at the Auction Multitainment Center.
Oh,
They have
right
a
on.
level up top where they serve you food, and the level at the bottom where you go to the concession stand, like any normal movie theater. I buy one ticket. I sit up top by myself. They bring me a chicken quesadilla, and I am by myself in the dark and air conditioning for 3 hours. I watch somebody else tell a story that they put months or years of effort into writing and producing, and the cinematography and the direction and the actors all come together. I take in what somebody else made for me,
Right.
and then I come home and no one's awake at my house. Nobody's bothering me. And I'll write for 20, 30 minutes, and then I'll go to bed. That one thing I felt like has got me through of all of the pressures of life
That's cool.
up until this point, and I have not had that in 3 months, and it's not worth it to me to get somebody else sick just to do the one thing that I take comfort in. And I feel like for most people that I know, that sports can serve that function for them.
Right.
And if you want it back, you got to take care of yourself and the people around you. And I don't know the whole thing about masks being a political issue. I don't know how much more of that I can take without freaking out on other human beings. I just don't know, because
Yeah.
it's silly.
I'm at that point as well. You know, it's like, you know, why are you? So you know me. You know, I'm 6'4", almost. I'm floating. I'm just under 300 pounds, and so a lot of people don't look at me in the eye, but they also don't mess with me. So, I mean, I think I spoke up to have someone put a mask on, I would be kind of concerned as to how would it escalate, right? Because I'm with you. I'm kind of tired of people not doing it because they, for whatever in the hell reason it may be, and I just don't know if you're going to end up seeing me on the news, right? Because
Yeah.
I beat someone.
There's people out there whose opinions I very much respect. Like Kyle Caldwell's one of them, who thinks that a mask indicates fear.
Yes, I saw that.
And I don't know how to stress to somebody who's that good of a human being in every single aspect of his life, and who I love and I want incredible
Respect and admire. Absolutely.
right, to tell him like, dude, it doesn't make you a pussy. It actually looks kind of cool when you see someone that's
If
as
you get
big
the
as
right
you
one.
walking around with a mask on, man. That's badass. Like
Exactly.
I don't know how to stress it to. I just don't know how to stress it to people. Like it's if and I you know there's I heard somebody say like if it could cut one day off this pandemic, and you could guarantee that it just cut one day off this pandemic, even for selfish reasons, regardless of who else you help, would you
Right.
do? You know,
And I don't think that, and again, to your point, I don't think that message is being spread enough, right? And again,
not only is not only is that message not being spread, but nobody's talking about exercise. Nobody's talking about sleep. Nobody's talking about nutrition, right?
okay.
Like I've lost 50 pounds in the last 6 months
Damn,
because
dude. That's
I
outstanding.
appreciate it. I'm sleeping, right? Instead of 4 hours and 45 minutes a night, I'm at 6 hours and 45 minutes a
Wow,
night.
that's cool. We always talked about that too. Did you do a sleep study or is it just the weight loss?
It's just I don't like to go to bed.
Yeah, we talked
Odd.
about that.
I don't have trouble staying asleep. I just don't like to go
Right.
to bed because that like 10-20 minutes is when everything's quiet is when you
Yeah.
can hear.
Yes, that's the loudest part of the day. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't like the loudest part of the day, so
Yeah.
I like to stay up until I pass out.
Fair.
And that was super unhealthy. Like you know, and over time, it affected my health a great deal. And so I made it a goal this year that no matter what, like I'm gonna listen to those voices and I'm gonna get some rest.
Fight through them. Okay.
And I just and the fact that I waited this long to do it frustrates me. But like, you know, it would have been cool if I had people in my life that were pushing me toward that a little bit more. And now that there's this germ out there, it's just like, hey, you know, trust me on this. Sleep will change your life.
Absolutely.
Trust me on this. Eating decent and quitting at 7 and moderating your alcohol and not putting Galliano in your and just taking care of yourself. Just take care of yourself because you matter to people, and you
Absolutely.
being around longer is going to affect people in a positive way. And I don't know. It doesn't matter how much I don't like somebody. They deserve to be around. They got people who care about them.
Yes.
And again, if you could stop this a day early, a week early, a month early, are you willing to slightly inconvenience yourself? And then pat yourself on the back as a hero for helping.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing to your point, right? If the CDC came out and said, look, you guys have to stay indoors for the next 4 months and you have to have your groceries delivered to you during those next 4 months and you can't do anything. However, you're going to have all the sports you want come August. Everyone would have done it. It's like, okay, there would have been no one out on the streets. They'd have been like, here's the science backing it up, right? And here it is. So you make the decision.
Some people are just contrarian though. If the CDC came out and said, absolutely do not eat your own shit, I would have a lot of friends with stinky breath. So
that was like, that reminds me of a scene in Con Air. It's like, you know, the guard looked at Dave Chappelle and it's like, your breath smells like shit. And he's like, well, it's like, he told me he loved me. So, so anyway, and thank you for sharing that. You were the first one to retweet that 846 video of his, by the way. So thank you for sharing that as well. That was actually something that needed to be seen, but that was very heavy, but he needed to.
Yeah. I wish I would have watched that then at midnight when you released it and
Yeah.
not at 6:45 in the morning.
That was hell of a way to start the day. But it was actually very interesting because I was tweeting, you know, he called out Don Lemon of CNN. And during the riot weekend, I was like, Don Lemon was doing a where's Ja? I'm like, yeah, I don't give a crap what any celebrity has to say right now. And Chappelle called it out. And I was like, that's it's not that they don't care. It's just they're not the voice that needs to be heard right now. So
Right.
Exactly. So another question we were actually Ms. Page asked you, and we may have to go ahead and do this. I would gladly host this on the Social Club, doing the movie podcast.
Yeah. So Brad, I I think Brad has taken an interest in the fact that I have not seen most movies pre 1994.
Okay.
So for a while, I was doing like Friday night film. I'd
I
watch a movie
remember.
that I missed out on and tweet it. Um, it became kind of exhausting that man, there's so much that I haven't seen.
There's a lot out there, yeah.
But that would be fun. It would be fun to just to do, and it would be the concept of doing an episode where like I challenge somebody to watch a movie that maybe they haven't seen, and then they
Okay.
challenge me to watch a movie that I haven't seen, of which the list is plentiful. I think that would make for a good show to even have like a rotating third guest or whatever. But man, Brad Denny's such a good human being. Like anything that he does is a blast. Like
It would be
sneakily,
brilliant to see.
yeah, sneakily the best long form writer in the state, and does that podcast with Joe. And like, how cool is Joe Huey? Like, and that's just how blessed is the Arizona State community to have the people that it does.
That's the key. I think I agree. It's quite the community that we have that I don't see elsewhere.
Yeah, the people have been um, amazing. Like I said, I butt heads um, with quite a few people, but like finding you and finding Joe Healy and Brad Denny, Hope Rubino, um, shoot, I mean, everybody who does anything peripherally, whether it's Doug Holler or Cole Streeper or anybody else, like
Yeah,
that's
you're
been.
talking about Jeff Metcalf's fantastic. Even the
Oh,
guys
Jeff
like
Metcalf, yeah.
like
The,
like
the,
Justin
the last four
Toscano and all
years,
those guys.
yeah, the last 4 years, Robbie Ryan has been on the ASU women's basketball team. Robbie Ryan's from my hometown. Not only is Robbie
Ah,
Ryan from my hometown, she was my ball girl when I was a youth soccer coach
I
in Sheriff,
remember you.
Wyoming. She would hand out orange slices to my players at halftime when she was 5 years old. And so to be able to watch her the last 4 years for ASU basketball and not really have anybody to talk to it about except for Jeff Metcalf, who
Right.
covers it, like I love Jeff, man. He's so good at everything he does. Doug Holler's such a pro. Chris Cartman, for all the time that him and I have butt heads, nobody puts more energy into what they do than him. The community that Ho Rubino has
Right.
cultivated of like real, true blood fans of Arizona State
Absolutely.
is absolutely fan. And then welcoming me into that community, like I'm nothing. I'm literally nothing without Ho. And
Same.
so I'm in awe of the Arizona State fan community, which is why being on this thing is such a cool thing, because I'm super grateful for those people, even though sometimes we butt heads on the internet. I can't imagine life without them.
And that's actually a very fair point, right? Because again, this is actually a follow up question after this comment. But I was actually talking with Anthony DeFalco, right, of DeFalco's Deli, and he was saying, even though we butt heads and even though we have back and forths, right, we're all still family, right? Regardless of the disagreements or everything else, we're all still this one big Sun Devil family here in the Phoenix area or wherever else we may be that we can always be a part of. So I think to your point, right? Yeah, we're gonna butt heads, but at least this way we're all, together. But I forgot my point. I had quite the setup there, and I'm actually kind of just go ahead and I forgot it. So anyway, I will remember it and I'll tweet it out you when I remember. But I love you. I mean, those 3 hours zoomed right by, but I love you, and I can't thank you enough for being part of this. Obviously, this is not your last time on the social club, but I wanted to ask you, what are you plugging, right? What are you working on right now? What do you want everyone to see?
Um, I have so if I could plug anything, two things. Sandy Charles did a podcast with Ricardo Stewart talking about just growing up in America as a black man and his time at Arizona State, his time as a pastor, and now his time as a defensive analyst at the University of Nevada. He was very frank with her, and she was incredibly vulnerable with him
Okay.
in her lack of knowledge of the struggle that he goes through. There was a lot of grace in that conversation, and it's worth a listen. It
Okay.
really is. If you can be proud of anybody as an Arizona State University alum, I think Ricardo Stewart and Sandy Charles are two of those people. And to listen to them have this conversation, I learned a lot, and I've kind of been looking for God and all this nonsense, and I think I found him in Ricardo's patience
Interesting.
with
Okay.
Sandy, and so that was a huge thing. That's up on, if you search Arizona Varsity Podcast Network on iTunes or Podbean or SoundCloud, you can find her conversation with him. Also, shout out to Sandy. Her longtime boyfriend Gabe's dad just passed away from COVID, and so it's something, again, it's affecting people that we know.
Absolutely.
Please take care of each other, take care of the people around you.
Justin Pressegard actually gave a shout out to that episode as well. He said it was tremendous.
Yes, yeah, and so then the other thing is, on our website there is an article from a guy named Andy Luberta, who is a co-owner of the site along with me, and I hooked him up with a kid named Thane Jackson, who played football at Gilbert High School and then went to the University of Montana.
Okay.
Enormous kid, like 6'6", 300 pounds. He went up to University of Montana, where they turned big linemen into NFL players. And he had some mental health issues, and he quit football altogether. And he discovered cooking.
Okay.
And he worked as a pit master at a barbecue up there, and then came down and got a job at that one in Phoenix that everybody loves, but I've never been to. Is it Little Miss?
I don't know. Go ahead. Someone will say it in the chat, but go ahead.
And then he launched his own YouTube show.
Okay.
As a cook, and it really just, he discovered his love of cooking, and it helped him rediscover his love of football. And ASU was talking to him about coming on board for a while, and he ended up committing after taking a couple of years off. He ended up committing to CSU Pueblo, which won a national championship a couple of years ago. So he is taking Little Miss. Yeah, that's right. So he was a pitmaster at Little Miss for like 6 months. He is headed, and this is why I really hope there's a college football season. Thane Jackson is headed to CSU Pueblo to play football. I think he's got 3 years of eligibility left.
Wow.
And he's just such a good dude. And those are the things I love. I love the stories of people and the things that they overcome. And, he gave up football and walked away and found something that he loved, and it reignited his passion for football as like a secondary consequence of that.
Of course.
And so his name is Thane Jackson.
Okay, Thane Jackson.
THU Pueblo for the
THANE, right?
Yeah, and all the shit on Arizona Varsity is free. We give it all away for free. That's the other thing about the website that I love. We don't put a single thing behind a paywall.
That's cool.
If people want to subscribe to our website, it's an enormous help for us.
Of course.
Because, we have 17 co-owners of the site, so it's a few pennies in the direction. And you made a few pennies with this, so you know what I'm talking about. But,
exactly, I know. It's 6 more cents that I had earned without before. So absolutely, it's like splitting that $1 17 ways is not as good as splitting $17 17 ways. So I understand.
There you go. So those two things are those have made me really happy to see those two things on the site and to know the amount of work that went into those. And there's a lot of really cool shit over at ArizonaVarsity.com. So
it's interesting too, because again, Arizona Varsity is covering so much now, right? It's not just high school; it's everything, which is actually very cool to be able to kind of make sure that people are looting.
Any sports? There's no sports to cover, so
it's whatever anyone can find, right? So
yeah.
It's being able to go ahead and do that. And actually, I just saw someone tweet that someone is already in bed, so I'm going to actually go tweet back at them. It's like, you can watch us from bed. You can actually watch this from bed, and whenever you're there. But that's the interesting thing, too. I know, like I said, I'm going to actually do a quick announcement, and you're probably watching the stream here, so I'm going to actually switch here. We would absolutely adore for you to be able to be part of the virtual Sun Devil Summit. That's July 10th. I started at 5:30 Pacific, right? That's 8:30 Eastern, so I try to go ahead and go through that. So because I'm actually kind of talking to people on the East Coast as well, so if you want to ask your friends out there, I'm actually willing to start this at 2:30 Pacific, right? That's 5:30 Eastern, so if I have to run the Sun Devil Summit 12 hours, I am more than willing to do that. I actually have a format in my mind to be able to run that for 12 hours. But be sure to shoot me an email, JediASU@gmail.com, or DM me on Twitter or the Insta or the Snapchat or the TikTok, because I have to put the in front of all those social media platforms because I am the old. So thank you so much, Ralph. Like I said, I love you. I love your family. I actually always share, your updates with Mrs. JediASU. She loves seeing how you guys are doing. So I absolutely look forward to breaking bread with you and your kids. And because they are such Star Wars fans, I may actually have to bring them a gift of some OG memorabilia that may not necessarily be the best and just add clutter to your house, but at least someone will be able to enjoy it. So instead of it just being in a bin in my house, so anything. But I appreciate you. Again, I love you. I can't thank you enough for making this episode amazing. And as always, if there's anything I can do for you, I am at your disposal as always.
Love you too, man. If you live with a heart of gratitude, the world is a wondrous place.
That it is. That is something that I have been walking out there. And that was actually another thing. I've been doing a lot of self-help. And that was another thing that I heard from another, I believe his name is Jim Quick. And one of the things is this is a mind experiment that he shared. What if everything you are grateful for today is the only thing in your life tomorrow? So make sure you go ahead and be grateful for as much as you can, because if you're able to carry it with you to the next day, it is a blessing for sure. So I appreciate you, Ralph. Thank you again. Take care, my friend. Take care to everyone. And then again, does Wyoming have a hand gesture, by the way?
They say letter buck.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm assuming that's a horse.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't sure if there was a hand gesture like W or, what is it? I think Texas Tech does the gun. So anyway, I was actually curious to see if there was something in there. But anyway, I appreciate you, man. Again, look forward to, hopefully you'll get to join us. Let's see, next week we have another guest. The new guest on the 26th for the Sun Devil Summit will be announced on Monday. We will not have anything on July 3rd because it is a July 4th weekend, even though who knows what we'll be doing on. And then we'll have another Sun Devil Summit on the 10th. And then the social club will return on the 17th. So the 26th will actually give you a good rest. But I actually intend to go ahead and stream and talk. Maybe we'll do a surprise Zoom anyway, if you're able to, Ralph, or anyone else. So I appreciate you. Thank you, everyone. Salud. I actually drank everything. Hopefully you're going to mix it again.
No. Go
Thank God. You enjoy that. Bailey's. Again, love to everyone. Love to you. And thank you, everyone, for everyone attending. We got the Sun Devil Summit here in a couple weeks, so make sure you send me an email. And we appreciate all of you. And again, as always, thank you. And as always, as you see on the social media circles, good night and good